Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I am the Nosy Witch and this is my channel, Nosy Witch Tarot. I do collective pick a card readings here on YouTube. Just a heads up, my readings do tend to be pretty long, they tend to be deep dives, so feel free to grab a hot or cold beverage of choice, get settled, get cozy, because we have a lot to get through today. Today's reading is titled Beyond the Veil, Messages from the Afterlife, What They Want You to Know. So these are messages meant for you from beyond, from passed on loved ones, ancestors, your spirit team, or even your higher self, depending on what resonates with your beliefs. The veil is thin right now, but the support for you is thick. And honestly, what better time for a reading like this? Spooky season always feels magical to me. Maybe it's because I'm a Scorpio and my birthday's coming up, but I just feel super connected this time of year, not only to the natural world, but to my guides, to the universe, and I wanted to share some of that support with you guys today to connect you with your spiritual support system, to hopefully offer you some reassurance and to give you a little bit of love, because we all need that right now. So your guides, your past and loved ones, they're here to hype you up, to show their support. That said, this reading is timeless whenever you find it is the right time for you. Now, this particular reading topic has been requested for a while, and I've always been a little bit reluctant about doing something like this. And a part of that is I realise we all have very different beliefs about the afterlife, and I just want to be respectful of that, and I want to acknowledge that first of all. I personally have had enough of my own experiences to believe in something. I actually had my own near-death experience as a kid, and I've talked about it with my in real life friends for years, but I've never really brought it up much on the channel because it's just one of those things, either you're open to it or you're not. And do you know what, like, I'm not here to convince anyone. I'm not looking for validation. I know what happened, and if you guys ever want to hear more about that, I can share a little bit about my experiences, but I don't really tend to make a big deal about it because I really don't have anything to prove. For a long time, I actually didn't talk about it at all, even in my real life, because I was kind of confused about it all. My little child brain couldn't really process it, and I didn't really know how to make sense of it. But it was one of those big experiences that really did shape who I am now. And I guess it's a big part, to be honest, of why I became that weird child who was drawn to spiritual things, and it's probably one of the main reasons that I'm here doing this now. So yeah, for me it was a big deal, it was a pivotal moment, and I just want to say that because it is also important to say, like, my beliefs on my own. I'm not here to grift or to just tell people what they want to hear. I truly do believe in this work, and that doesn't mean that I know everything. You know, I've always had one foot in science and one foot in the woo, and I don't claim to know the exact mechanics of the afterlife. I don't subscribe to one specific dogma or religion. Some people believe in the concept of heaven and hell. Some people believe in reincarnation. I'm not here to debate that, but I do know enough to trust that there is more beyond this 3D life, and I feel like a lot of you guys are probably the same if you're interested in things like tarot. And even if you're not, even if you're an atheist, I do believe, like, even the science aspect of it, I honestly believe that science will eventually catch up to what many of us already feel spiritually. And until then, it's just about balancing logic and discernment with faith and intuition. And I also just want to acknowledge, I know, like, there's 1,000 disclaimers already, but this is a very sensitive subject. Grief and loss and things like that, they're very heavy subjects. Death is never easy to go through, to talk about, and my intention here is never to give false hope, but to inspire you to see that, you know, death doesn't always have to mean final. I want you to know that our loved ones can be with us every day, even if it's in a different way. And if even one thing in this reading resonates, if it makes you think, like, that's my loved one, like, that's my guide, they're here for me, then I've done my job. That said, big trigger warning for today's topics. We are dealing with very sensitive themes. And also just a little bit of a reminder that with these being collective readings, not everything will resonate, and I am going to go on to that. I always go through those disclaimers for every reading, regardless of what the topic is. But if I say something and it doesn't hit home for you, and you're like, well, my loved one would never do XYZ, and it's in relation to an example I gave, the examples are just there not to box you in or to say it's that specific scenario. It's just to put things into context. But please be mindful, because these are people's loved ones who we're talking about, and what we're not going to do ever is pass judgment, especially when it comes to souls who are being vulnerable enough with us from the other side to come forward and share their truth, I suppose. The other thing that I really, really want you guys to know is that this is a safe space. I have cleansed, I've set protections, and only light, supportive energies are welcome here. Still, if you have recently experienced a loss or things feel too raw, it might be best to skip this one for now and come back when you're feeling ready. You know, always, always, always protect your peace first. This reading will still be here for you. And if you don't have a passed on loved one in mind, that's fine too. You can interpret this as guidance from your higher self, an ancestor you never met, or just from your spirit team. So in terms of the reading breakdown, let's have a look at what we are going to cover. We're going to start off these readings as we normally do by giving some confirmations, numbers, placements, little specific details. These things don't have to resonate for a pile to be yours. These will just be extra details for specific individuals. We're going to look at who is coming through your dynamic, how they might connect with you. We're going to look at what they want you to know. We're going to get some advice or guidance that they want to pass along to you right now. And we are going to wrap up your reading with their final word as well as some tea leaf cards for extra clarity. You are welcome to choose more than one pile if more than one pile is calling to you. And if nothing resonates, that's okay too. It just means the messages today are meant for somebody else. So take what fits, leave what doesn't. With that said, let's introduce the piles. Timestamps will be pinned below along with a summary of what we're going to be covering today. So over here we have a pile 1 with the Healing Waves Tarot and the Ghost on a Scooter sticker. Here we have pile 2 with the Cute Ghost Tarot and the Basketball Ghost sticker. Here we have pile 3 with the Wild Unknown Tarot and the Raincoat Ghost sticker. Here we have pile 4 with the Cozy Witch Tarot and the Paper Bag Ghost sticker. And here we have pile 5 with the Considerate Cat Tarot and the Ghost Reading sticker. So please use your intuition to choose your pile. Like I say, if you feel called to more than one, that is okay. You are very welcome to choose more than one. With that said, I just want to thank you all so much for being here. Sometimes the messages I get in these readings feel very random and specific, and I don't always know who they're for. So I truly love when you guys leave comments letting me know what resonated. And if you're not comfortable sharing details, that's okay. Dropping which pile you picked or even just leaving an emoji is perfect. That will be very much welcomed. Of course, any engagement, likes, comments, shares, subs, that is the best birthday gift you could give me this Scorpio season. Once again, this is a kind, respectful space, so any negativity or bigotry will be swiftly returned to sender. Thank you so much again for spending this time with me. Now let's get into your chosen pile. Hi Pile 1 Collective. If you chose the Healing Waves Tarot, and you chose this Ghost on a Scooter sticker, and you chose pile 1, you are in the correct place. Welcome to your reading, friends. This reading is titled Beyond the Veil, Messages from the Afterlife, What They Want You to Know. If you would like a full breakdown regarding everything this reading will entail, please check out my introduction. I go through absolutely everything there. I will also leave some details in the pinned comment below for your reference. If you're unsure whether this reading is for you, I would really recommend checking those out first so you know what to expect from this reading today, since topics like these can be a little bit sensitive. But know that these messages are here to support you with encouragement, with love, and with guidance from beyond. So whether you connect with the idea of a passed on loved one, an ancestor, a spirit guide, or a higher version of yourself, these are messages from the liminal, the place beyond time. They're here to offer reassurance, clarity, and perspective. As usual, we're going to be using a selection of tarot cards and oracle cards today. So with that said, I am going to pop your sticker to one side and let's get started with your reading, pile 1. So let's unveil the tarot cards first, and then we're going to be looking at this angel number card, and then we're going to be looking at an archetype card. So starting on the left over here, we have got the 9 of Pentacles. And clarifying the 9 of Pentacles, we've got Justice. We have got the 10 of Swords reversed. And clarifying the 10 of Swords reversed, we have the Page of Swords. We have got the Queen of Cups. Beautiful. Clarifying the Queen of Cups, we have the Queen of Swords. Very powerful energy, pile 1. I love that. And we have got the Ace of Swords reversed. And clarifying the Ace of Swords, we have got the 8 of Swords reversed. The angel number card we pulled for you is 111. Your thoughts on manifesting rapidly, trust in divine guidance, and stay focused on your goals. That is amazing, pile 1. Great start. Your guides are really powerful in this one. And your archetype card is Mystic. Light attribute revels in intimate union with the divine. Shadow attribute delusional rapport with the divine. I always like to start off these readings by mentioning the numbers on the cards. So we pulled 111. So if you've been seeing 1111, 111, receipts with 111, or the numbers 1 or 11, that is a huge wink. This could also point to January or November birthdays. First house or 11th house could be significant. Themes surrounding identity, beginnings, community, networks, causes. Because you chose the Healing Waves Tarot, I am getting water sign energy from this. I think because of the Mystic card as well, that makes me think of Pisces, it makes me think of the 12th house, but also Cancer and Scorpio coming through as well. 8th house maybe could be relevant. And funnily enough, even though this is an oceanic themed deck for the most part, so many of your cards show birds, so air sign energy is coming through strongly too. Gemini, Libra and Aquarius. So yeah, birds and flying could be a theme here. Planes, airports, maybe somebody flying home for the holidays. Somebody could have a fear of flying, or feathers could be signs for you. Seeing feathers or having had a pet bird, maybe. Those could be extra confirmations of this loved one, maybe. I'm also seeing cotton wool, like cotton wool rounds or baby lotion. I'm getting something about that. I'm also getting a scent that feels very pink, maybe like rose or geranium. That is coming through. I can smell rose really strongly right now. I'm getting a lot of feminine energy from this. That doesn't mean this person has to be a woman, but we've got a lot of queen energy here, right? So this soul may present with divine feminine qualities regardless of their gender. This could be a soul who is very receptive, very intuitive, nurturing, discerning as well though with that Queen of Swords. I'm getting something about an old painting in somebody's home. It's kind of like a Renaissance style. Maybe this person used to have a picture that you used to stare at that was kind of in an older style. That's coming through for somebody. I know that's very specific. I'm also getting something about Mia Wallace. I'm getting like Uma Thurman in Pulp Fiction. I don't know, a poster of Pulp Fiction or that film just generally could be significant for somebody. I'm getting something about like somebody being a community pillar. So this soul, when they were here on earth, they could have been beloved locally. Like they were always known as this person who was kind to everyone, maybe volunteering, raising money. They could have been involved in clubs or certain church or faith groups, or like simply they were part of people's daily routine. Like people might have said to you after their passing, like, oh, I used to see this person doing their shop or something like that. Like I miss seeing them, that sort of thing. People spoke really, really well and highly of this individual, I think. I'm getting something about mobility. I think with you picking the ghost on a scooter sticker, somebody here could deal with an energy limiting condition, maybe chronic pain. Maybe towards the end of this individual's life, you notice their appearance and mobility changing. You know, I'm thinking of like somebody once having this beautiful, thick, lush hair, and that hair was thinning towards the end, or kind of like a body that didn't quite match their vibrant spirit. Still beautiful, of course, it's just that time had caught up. It's that kind of thing. I'm also getting a specific condition as well as mobility conditions. I'm thinking of, I really can't remember what it's called, but it's an eye condition, and I don't think it's exclusive to older people, but I know a lot of older people get it. Is it macular degeneration? It might not be, but there is this specific condition where you can kind of see like, not hallucinations, but see things that aren't there, but it's due to the condition. And that might have been confusing for like this person if that's something they dealt with, because they could have also been like a mystic, they could have been spiritual, and maybe they had a tendency to like see things, but the condition like amplified it, something like that. I know that's not going to be for everyone, it's just an extra confirmation. I'm getting something about the law, paralegal work, something about justice sensitivity, or like a sense of justice and fairness surrounding maybe this person's care or surrounding the circumstances of their passing. I'm seeing crayons, and I'm seeing somebody like colouring on the walls. That could be a specific memory for somebody. Maybe you used to colour on the walls when you were a child, or this person did. Yeah, definitely like 12th house vibes, dreams, liminal space, mysticism. There's also an undercurrent of like benevolence, Jupiter energy, blessing energy. The mystic archetype kind of confirms a strong spiritual connection in life and also now. We don't technically have the magician card here, but I actually keep getting magician energy, and the first thing that popped into my head was, you're a wizard, Harry. So maybe Harry Potter is a confirmation for somebody, Or maybe this person, what they want you to know today is that you genuinely have magical abilities that you're still growing into. There's something about that. Maybe a scar is relevant, like Harry Potter. I'm also seeing Merlin, and this might sound funny, but I've been playing Disney Dreamlight Valley a lot, and the characters in that, they always, like, whenever you go past them, they'll repeat the same lines. And Merlin has this one particular line that's like, I'm the world's most powerful wizard, or something like that, and it always gets stuck in my head. Like, I always end up repeating what these characters are saying, and I feel like this specific message is a nudge about you, like, hearing certain phrases on repeat that remind you of this person, or even feeling like their voice drops into your mind during those moments. And it could also be their way of saying, because we mentioned Merlin, like, they're saying you're more powerful and magical than what you realise. And yeah, the meaning of the number 111, that could be relevant. So this could be about a new beginning. This could be about alignment, you know, thoughts, intentions, actions are clicking into place. This could be about manifestation. Your focus is magnetizing outcomes, something like that. And maybe you are going through like a spiritual awakening right now. Another one, I'm hearing another one, so you've probably had them before. So trust the nudge, because your inner guidance is really a light here. Mercury themes are also coming through here. That's what I'm getting for confirmations for this pile. So who is this soul and how are they showing up? Pile 1. Many of you already know exactly who this is. This soul is around you constantly. You might have clicked onto this reading thinking of them specifically, like wondering if they will come through. You've always shared a telepathic thread with this person. There's this like quiet inner channel, and their passing hasn't made that disappear. It's just evolved. But I'm getting like they now come through via Mercury pathways. So this could be, like we said during the confirmations, random phrases in your head, things you would never say, maybe a lyric that you hum, like the same song getting in your head, a miraculous idea dropping out of the sky, out of nowhere. Those moments where you're like, why did I just say something that is something that they would have said? Like, that's a phrase that they would have used, not me. It's something like that. Someone might even tell you like, oh my god, you just sounded exactly like this person. Or you'll wear something and somebody says that you look like a picture of them from decades ago, and that's not a coincidence, that's continuity. They're essentially like gifting you little facets of themselves. This soul is kind of kept alive through you in a way. For many of you, I do want to say that this could be a grandparent. I'm like thinking maternal, or just an older relative, or it could be like a community mentor. For others, this is a deeply active guide. Like, there's a strong sense of a mystic lineage here. I'm sensing a gift that might skip a generation. Maybe you and this individual spoke about spirituality together. Maybe you didn't. But the bottom line is, like, you felt seen by this person. They were someone who encouraged your curiosity. They never shut your ideas down, and they treated your inner world as important. And, you know, if there was even like a language barrier or a cultural difference here, it's like you still understood each other beyond words. Nothing needed translating. And that's that Queen of Cups and Queen of Swords energy working together. It's like deep feeling with razor sharp clarity. So if this is resonating in any way, they are here, and we are going to let them speak. We're going to let them tell you what they want you to know. So with the Nine of Pentacles showing up with Justice, straight away, I think this soul is acknowledging how much you have done to advocate for fairness, and that might specifically apply in terms of the circumstances of them passing. They're saying especially for them. So some of you may have literally fought on their behalf for like better care, maybe with doctors, with systems, with people who weren't listening. And maybe you were their rock in times when they couldn't fully communicate or defend themselves. They're saying, I saw it all. Even if they didn't seem fully present at the time, maybe they were confused, maybe they were medicated, maybe they were slipping in and out of lucidity. Where they are now, they see it very clearly, and they know how hard you tried, and they're grateful for that, is what they're saying. But they also don't want you to carry the weight of what you couldn't control. Like, if you've been looping on this idea of like, I should have done more, or I should have been there at that exact moment, they're saying, no, you absolutely did enough. They felt your presence with them, whether or not you were physically there. You know, at the time of them passing, even if you woke up at an odd hour or you dreamed of them around the time they passed, that could have been them visiting you. But they want you to put down the guilt and the anger, because they don't carry those things anymore. Where they are, all there is clarity and peace. For some of you, this could have even been an animal, like a soul pet or something. I'm wondering about that with the Ace of Swords reversed. There's something about, like, maybe towards the end, they couldn't communicate what they needed or what was wrong, something like that. So you could have tried really hard to, like, fight for their rights, but it was difficult when they couldn't advocate for themselves. But you tried your best. That is what they acknowledge here. And they're saying you did the best you could, and they know that. With the Ten of Swords reversed and with the Page of Swords, this soul knows that you've been through it. You have felt the heaviness of loss, and it might have lingered. You know, it might have showed up as brain fog, as rumination, or even some degree of, like, self-blame. But with the reversal here, they're showing me that you're coming out of that energy. And the Page of Swords is their encouragement. There's something about curiosity, questions, new ideas. They're saying, don't let grief silence your mind. Let it open new doors. And they're saying they want you to write, research, they want you to talk, they want you to learn, they want you to share. Whatever outlet feels right for you, they love seeing you channel your feelings into something creative and something, I'm getting very mercurial, something with words or ideas. They're nudging you to take those flashes of inspiration that you get seriously, because it's often them actually planting the seed and kind of pushing you towards something. They're also saying, like, when you feel like you're talking to yourself, you're not, you're talking to me. Even if you feel silly sometimes, like when you pray or when you talk, they're saying, like, they hear you. And they love it when you keep those channels of communication open. With the Queen of Cups and the Queen of Swords, this is their dual energy, but what they're saying is it's also yours. They see you as someone with the compassion of the Queen of Cups and the discernment of the Queen of Swords, and that's a really rare balance. I think they see a lot of themselves in you, and they always have. But they're reminding you that this blend often comes through life experience. They're sort of saying that Queen of Swords energy, we slip into it oftentimes after we have been through and got through the hardest possible times of our lives. The Queen of Swords energy is forged through hardship, through having to cut through confusion, for having to stand up for yourself and to see things clearly. And they're acknowledging here, like, I know it hasn't been easy, but this is how your strength is being shaped. And they're also saying, like, that in their life they went through that, and you probably know this. Like, if this is an older person especially, maybe they went through really challenging times, like in life, in society, you know, wars, things like that. They could have seen life through some really, really difficult, challenging times, and they have had to be resilient, and maybe you always admired that in them. But they were also saying, like, they're admiring you now for what you're going through, and, you know, the times when you haven't seen something as playing out fairly, the way you've stuck up for things to be fair, the way you've advocated, like, they're saying that that has built your resilience. They're also saying that they admired your intuition, they admired your big feelings, your ability to sense what other people often missed, and they want you to stop judging yourself for being sensitive or for struggling. They're saying it's actually part of your gift, and they're telling me that you might have inherited this gift from them, although maybe it did skip a generation. Maybe you were the only one in your family who kind of got these things, but they always knew that you had it. And that might not apply to everyone. You could have come from, like, a long line of mystics, and everyone in your family is kind of mystical in that way. But for some, it's like maybe certain people in your family you didn't see quite eye to eye with because they didn't have this gift. But despite, you know, generational, language, cultural barriers, this person did, and you both saw that in each other. And they're saying, like, I want you to keep this alive. You know what you know. Don't shrink from it. With that Ace of Swords reversed and the Eight of Swords reversed, yeah, this speaks to that confusion and that fog, that, I guess, feeling trapped in one's own mind, especially around the time of their passing. You know, for some of you, this could have been a long goodbye. Like, you felt as though you were watching them decline, or you were seeing their independence be taken away, and it might have felt like kind of losing them in pieces in a way, and that is an extra layer of grief, pile one, you know, mourning not just their passing but the changes leading up to it. And that could have been extra difficult for you because this person, like, you always saw them as, like, so smart and so wise and as having this really sharp mind, or maybe being really, like, beautiful and being able to look after themselves, and they still were in their soul, but they couldn't quite get through this fog some of the time, and that could have been really, really hard for you guys to watch. And they want you to remember them in their full vibrancy, is what they're saying. You know, not only in those difficult moments, they're saying they're free of pain now. You know, if their body or mind limited them towards the end of their life, they're saying, like, that's gone, like, I'm free again. You know, I'm thinking of health conditions that affect the mind, so, like, Alzheimer's, dementia, that could be significant. but it could also be something very physical that limited somebody's mobility. And again, I'm also thinking of like a soul pet, an animal companion who just couldn't communicate what was wrong, and maybe like you found out sort of too late about something, and if you've carried guilt about whether you did enough, they're saying that you did more than enough. Like, if you maybe had to make the impossible choice to let them go, they see that as an act of love. Oh my god, I'm tearing up now. And seeing them like bounding around you, they're young and they're full of life again, and they want you to remember them in that way. Oh, this is why I don't do these readings, because now I am a mess. But yeah, this card combination, it's also them telling you, like, stop trapping yourself with what ifs. You did not fail them. You honoured them. And now they want you to feel free too. You're allowed to feel free. And yeah, in terms of like their soul and the bond that you guys had, this soul shows up as someone who was incredibly present in your life. For many, this feels like a grandparent, like I said, an aunt or an uncle, or an older figure who was both like playful and wise, I want to say. Like, they could laugh at silly things, they could engage your inner child, but they also would like treat you with respect as you grew older. And they could actually be like surprisingly progressive in their way of thinking. Like, they were very curious and open and willing to learn, even late in their life. And they also loved learning from you. Like, maybe this is the grandma where you taught her how to use a phone, like you taught her about technology, or you explained like new cultural shifts, or you told her what like a meme was or something like that. You just showed them how younger generations think. And this individual really respected you, and they want you to know that they never ever dismissed what you had to say. You and them had a bond that transcended words. You know, you could finish each other's sentences, you could read what was going on mood-wise by looking in each other's eyes, you could sense each other without needing proof, and that hasn't gone away. You know, you can still talk to them and they'll still answer through songs, through dreams, through ideas, through these little coincidences. A funny little note that's coming through, and this won't be for everyone, it could be for someone specific, but it's coming through really strongly, so I want to mention it. Like, some of you could have had, like, after this person's funeral, or when you were sorting through their belongings, you could have found like old letters or keepsakes of theirs after they passed, which they're not mad at all. Like, they want you to have these keepsakes, and if you have taken one with you, like one that you feel specially connected to, they love that, and that could be a way of like connecting with them when you hold that object, is when you talk to them. But the specific message I wanted to say is, like, some of them could be laughing. I'm hearing laughing right now, because you could have been a bit nosy, right, when you were looking through their belongings, and they don't mind, like, they're not, again, mad at this at all, but you could have found, like, you know, old love letters or something like that, or like spicy things that they wrote, and they're laughing about it. It doesn't have to be that specific example, but they're saying, like, yeah, I saw you being nosy, like, I saw you rooting through my stuff. But it makes them smile, because they know that it means, like, you wanted to feel closer to them, so they don't mind at all. That's an extra specific message for somebody. Like, somebody was looking through their grandma's things, and they were like, oh, like, look at these letters that grandma wrote to grandpa during the war, and it was like a bit filthy, to be honest. I don't know why that's coming through, sorry about that, but yeah, I just want to give you guys some messages of reassurance from this person. The main thing they want you to know is they want you to stop carrying guilt that isn't yours. They're saying you fought for them, you love them, you showed up, and that's all they ever needed. They're telling you to let yourself be happy again. They do not feel left out. They feel included through your joy, and when something good happens to you, share it with them out loud, because they hear you. You know, tell them, like, grandma or whoever this is, like, I'm really excited today, like, I just got a promotion. Like, talk to them even if you feel silly. They want you to channel your grief into creation. So again, like, write, sing, paint, speak, post, whatever medium you have, use it, because that really honors this person. And they're saying trust your intuition. You are not crazy. They're saying you are not crazy, you are gifted. Like, those nudges are real, and the nudges often come from them. They're saying you don't know how gifted you are. And they're saying keep living your life. You know, they watch you like you are their favourite vlog sometimes. They're fascinated by you just living in the mundane, like what choices you make, what routines you cultivate, you doing your hobbies. They want you to try new things, and they want novelty for you. They want to see you experience the new. This person is so proud of you, pal one. I'm hearing fiercely proud. They have always seen your soul clearly. They've seen your goodness, your strength, your potential. And they're saying, like, don't punish yourself for things outside of your control. You've done enough and now you need to live. And that triple one, that's your green light. So take the step and trust your gift. They're saying, like, honor them by honoring yourself. And they want to leave you by saying, I love you, I'm still here, and I can't wait to see what you do next. So that is what we're getting for your reading, Pile 1. I am going to end this reading with some tea leaf confirmations. So let's have a look at what we pulled for you. Okay, we have got Lightning, control your anger or you will be sorry. We have got Ladder, climbing towards success. We have got Scissors, disappointment in some affair. And we have got Grasshopper, situations in the balance that require careful handling. So with Lightning, another confirmation for you guys, you might literally notice lights flickering or acting up when this person's energy is around, like bulbs going on and off even after you have just changed them, or lights responding when you ask them something. It might be like the light flickers and you're like, oh, that's grandma, and you and people in your family even laugh about it. For some of you, you might feel their presence, especially during thunderstorms. That's coming through. But also the most important thing, this card's actual message. It does sound harsh on the surface, but I feel like this isn't saying like, oh, you will be sorry, as in a threatening way. It's more like how a parent lovingly guides a child. Like they're saying, you know, I see your big feelings, but don't let anger consume you. So this could be anger around like the situation of their passing if you feel like something wasn't fair. They're not invalidating your anger, they're saying it was valid, but they're showing me that where they are now, they've released it and they want you to feel that release too. They're saying like, don't smash your toys over me. I'm not angry, so I don't want you to be. It's almost like they're saying, you know how like when toddlers get angry, I'm not comparing you to a toddler, this is just an example, but when toddlers get angry and like they end up, I guess, hurting themselves when they smash their toys, when they throw their toys out of the pram, this person is saying don't do that. Like your anger is only hurting yourself, I think is the thing, and they don't want to see you live that way. They're saying it's okay to process it, but try channeling it. That is what they want for you. So that's what I'm getting with the Lightning card. With Ladder, climbing towards success, this is such a hopeful card, Pile 1. I actually see a ladder disappearing into the sky beyond the clouds, and you can't see where this ladder leads yet, but they're asking you to just take one step at a time. Your future holds more success than what you realise right now. I'm actually hearing The Climb by Miley Cyrus, so that could be a confirmation for somebody here. Not heard that song in years. And Scissors, disappointment in some affair, this could literally link to scissors or hairdressing, cosmetology I'm hearing, or maybe this person cut your hair once, they used to cut your hair in the kitchen. That's a specific message for somebody. But symbolically, it's more about trimming away what no longer serves, cutting off the split ends of anger or guilt or frustration. You don't have to do a full chop at once is what they're saying, but little by little, release what's dead weight so you can grow healthy and strong. And with Grasshopper, situation in the balance that requires a careful handling. This is this soul acknowledging that you have faced delicate situations, maybe even their own passing, and they acknowledge that you handled it with as much grace as you could. It wasn't easy, but you did your best. And they're proud of how you're managing it. This also feels like a student and teacher dynamic to me. Like, yes, you've learned from them, but they're stressing how much they've also learned from you too. Like, they're in awe of your resilience and the way that you are continually trying to balance things, even when they know that you've been angry and that it hasn't been easy. And all of this ties back to their main message. Like, you are destined for growth and success here, Pile 1. Do not let anger or self-doubt stop you from climbing. This soul is with you every single step of the way. They love you and they want the very best for you. So that is your reading, Pile 1. I just want to thank you so much for being here today, for sharing your beautiful energy with me and with this collective. With that said, engagement helps me and this channel so much. So if anything at all did resonate, if it helped in any tiny way, even a small way, please like the video, please comment if you can, please share, hype and subscribe if you do feel called. It really does mean the world. And with that said, I completely understand if you don't want to share personal details. This can be a very intimate subject and I get that. But even if you just want to let me know which pile you picked or drop an emoji in the comments, that all really helps and it just lets me know that these messages are reaching the right people. It's almost my birthday, so happy Scorpio season. And honestly, the best birthday present I could ask for is just hearing your kind words and knowing that this reading did support you in one tiny way. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one, pal one. Hi, pal two collective. If you chose the cute ghost tarot and you chose this basketball ghost sticker and you chose pal two, you are in the correct place. Welcome to your reading, friends. This reading is titled Beyond the Veil, Messages from the Afterlife, What They Want You to Know. If you'd like the full breakdown regarding what this reading will entail, please check out my introduction. I go through absolutely everything there. I will also leave some details in the pinned comment below for your reference. If you are in any way unsure about whether this reading is for you, I would really recommend checking those out first so you know what to expect from this reading today, since topics like these can be quite sensitive. But just know these messages are here to support you with encouragement, with love, and with guidance from beyond. So whether you connect with the idea of a passed on loved one, an ancestor, a spirit guide, or a higher version of yourself, these are messages from the liminal, the place beyond time. They're here to offer reassurance, clarity, and perspective. We'll be using tarot cards and oracle cards today, as always. So with that said, I'm going to pop your sticker to one side for now. And we're going to have a look at the cards we pulled for you. We're going to have a look at the tarot cards first. We do have an oracle card on each side. We have the angel numbers oracle and the archetype oracle. But yeah, starting off over here on the left, we have got the Six of Wands reversed. I'm clarifying the Six of Wands reversed. We have got the Four of Cups. We have got Death. And we have got the Seven of Pentacles reversed. We have got the Three of Swords. And clarifying the Three of Swords, we've got the High Priestess, and we've got the Ten of Cups. Clarifying the Ten of Cups, we've got the Three of Cups. That's really sweet, pal two. My goodness. Your angel number card is 999. Release what no longer serves you and prepare to embark on a new chapter filled with opportunities. And from the archetype oracle, we have got Gambler, Light attribute, willingness to follow intuition even when others doubt you, Shadow attribute, relying on luck rather than hard work. I always like to start these readings by mentioning the numbers on the cards. So obviously 999 is really standing out to me. 9 weeks, months, or years may be significant. Birthdays on the 9th or birthdays in September, maybe life path 9 for some. We could also be getting some 9th house and Sagittarius themes, so things surrounding higher learning and qualifications, philosophy and deep debates, long distance travel and foreign places, culture, spirituality, religion, law, justice, and publishing as well. Somebody getting their voice out, that's coming through. You could have even met this person through some form of education, or maybe through traveling, through school, through uni, through a course, an apprenticeship, through faith spaces as well. Or like you could have had sort of those long, meaningful midnight chats, the sort of what's the meaning of life conversations. You might have had that with this individual whilst they were here on Earth. I'm also hearing the word chasm. So there could have been literal distance at the time of this person passing, different countries or different time zones, but the bond stretched across it. Or it could be like an emotional chasm, like maybe this was someone you were once close to and you were drifted apart. That won't apply for everyone. These are just specific confirmations. They don't have to apply for this to be your pile. But yeah, publishing keeps standing out to me. Maybe somebody here wants to be published or talked about writing a book or putting their work out there. Most strikingly though is 999. That makes me think of sirens, of ambulances, blue lights, A&E. I'm seeing like somebody spending a long night in a waiting room. That sort of like, I'm feeling the vibe of like somebody who's been up all night, too tired to think, can't sleep because you're waiting for news, that kind of anxious feeling. Some of you could work in a field like that where you encounter that a lot, or that could have been something about this individual's passing. But some of you could be in medical roles, something about an emergency context. Some of you could be doctors, nurses, EMTs, paramedics, clinical roles. I'm seeing that. Or even like frontline and military could be significant. Or like you've worked on a hotline at like a mental health crisis centre. something like that. I'm also hearing the, is it the Paramore song Emergency? Like that's coming through to me right now as well. I'm seeing something about a car crash or a car wreck. I'm also getting randomly something about carnivals, something about festivals or raves. I'm seeing ninjas or like combat video games. I'm seeing somebody who said like I'm watching the game, so maybe somebody who is into sports. Obviously basketball might be relevant with you picking that sticker. I'm seeing somebody who wore hats or beanies a lot. Now this could be like literally or metaphorically, like they were always in a beanie, or it could be somebody who like wears many hats. I'm seeing somebody who was a bit of a risk taker with that gambling card. This could be like literal gambling, or it could be like they did things to sort of like gamble with their life, I suppose, in a way. Obviously that's not for everybody, but this feels like somebody who lived on the edge. We will get into like who this is. These are just the confirmations right now. But yeah, I'm seeing somebody who lived on the edge. There's something about banter, like back and forth banter. I'm hearing the phrase, you play too much. Somebody saying you play too much. Somebody like laughing at you. I'm seeing somebody falling over and another person laughing. Maybe somebody was clumsy. That could have been you or this person. There's something about truth or dare. Something about somebody who falls asleep anywhere. And sleepwalking as well. Sleepwalking, sleep talking. All that's coming through. So if any of these are extra clarity for you, you are in the right place, but they don't have to be. Like I say, these are just the confirmations before we go into who this is. I definitely think this was a person who like lived their life in the fast lane, I want to say, because even as I was doing the confirmations, it's like they wanted to bypass the confirmations and they were saying like, come on, like let's get to it. So I was kind of talking over myself. I couldn't finish a sentence without the next one coming out. So that could be like kind of how this person was. Maybe they were a little bit impatient. But yeah, in terms of like who this is and how you'd know them, the first thing I was getting, specifically when I was talking about gambling, was like, this is the kind of person who, if they were taking a test and it was like in a subject they didn't feel fully confident in, or they hadn't studied for, or something like that, they would be the type to just like, if you had to pick answers like A, B, and C, they would just shut their eyes and like point to an answer and they would just go with that answer and hope that they got lucky. Like this is that kind of person. Or that could be like some element of you as well, like, oh, I haven't studied for this maths test, so I'm just gonna go with like B, C, A, C, B, A, or something like that. Oh, CBA. Maybe this person said can't be asked a lot. But yeah, like there's something about that coming through, like somebody playing guessing games. Yeah, this soul, this to me feels more like a peer than an elder. I'm not ruling out this individual having been like a parent or a grandparent or somebody older. I'm not saying that that isn't possible, but if they were, I don't think this person like took on a stereotypical parental role, if that makes sense, because this feels to me more like a friend, a sibling, a cousin, a partner, or like an ex-school friend, like someone roughly your age, or at the very least like kind of acted your age, even if they weren't. And many of you, I am getting like something sudden about this person's passing. I'm getting suddenly and before their time. I'm hearing before their time. And for some, there's that painful thought of like, under different circumstances, maybe this wouldn't have happened. So maybe that's you, and you know, that's not for everyone, I do want to say that, but for a subset of individuals here, the word preventable is echoing. And there's absolutely no blame in this reading, like we are holding that very, very gently. And we're going to talk about that because obviously this person, this soul wants you to know some things, but they might know that you're experiencing some element of that. Maybe that's something you think about. Even with this death card, like the way the ghost is looking at the skull, it's like shocked that the skull is in its hands. So there's some element of like, this doesn't feel real. This was so sudden that it didn't feel real. Like it feels surreal. It feels like this happens to other people, not to us. It's that sort of feeling, like something shocked by its own mortality in a way. Yeah, so a lot of heavy feelings, I would say, in this pile. But yeah, the energy here is shocking and unexpected, I would say. This feels, I know the tower isn't showing up, but this feels kind of like a tower moment when you found out this news. Like one moment, life was normal, and then the next moment, everything changed. It's almost like life was split into two parts, the before this happened and the after. So again, I'm seeing like an ambulance called, this energy of like all hands on deck, some element of chaos, some element of like touch and go. So for some of you guys, it could have been a really, really tragic, unfortunate event, so like a car accident, or the case of being like in the wrong place at the wrong time. And for others of you, it could have been like, you know, a health issue was discovered, but maybe it was a little bit too late, like we didn't know until it was already sort of life-threatening. But for a subset of individuals here, this is tied to a decision. It's tied to some element of risk or impulsivity, maybe driving too fast, or substances like a bad batch, or a permanent choice from temporary pain. And I'm saying it that way because I hope you know what I mean. I'm not allowed to talk about certain things on YouTube, but if mental health or anything like this is involved, I hope you know what I mean. And either way, you know, there's no judgment from me or from them. I'm just offering specifics so the right people know that that message is theirs. Some of you, it's like you weren't allowed in the room when something was happening, or you were by their bedside, you were waiting for news. Some of you, like when you heard about this, it shocked you in a way that you didn't, like you couldn't quite compute. Some of you had drifted a bit by then, like from this person. That's not for everyone. For some, like this could have been someone who was still very, very close to you at the time of their passing. But for others, it's like you were once close, but by that stage you had drifted slightly, like life paths had diverged a little bit. And even in that adds a layer of this strange grief where you just didn't think that the last time would be the last time. And you might still catch yourself thinking like, oh, I should tell them about this, or they would love this. Or you swear that you see them on the street and for a moment you're like, did they fake their death or something? Like, it's that surreal, you know, this can't be real feeling that is here. This soul is very self-aware though about their edge living. I want to say their edge living. They did have about them, and you might have known this, a kind of like live fast, die young vibe. And I don't say that to be blunt or to like invalidate what's happened here, but you could have known that they were that kind of person, the kind of person who's like, YOLO, you only live once, like fear of missing out. They always wanted to try things, and a part of them always felt like they weren't meant to stay here long. And they're actually thanking you because they're saying to you, like, you're one of the reasons that I stayed as long as I did. Like, maybe you were the one person who could, like, kind of talk some sense into them more than anyone else. And it didn't always stick. This person, you know, they had their own mind, they did what they wanted, but it landed more than what you know. So personality-wise, in terms of who this is, because they still are, this person is bold, they're impulsive, they're also hilarious, like I'm getting this so funny. The gambler archetype fits this person perfectly, I would say. Like, try everything once, you know, chase the plot twist, use risk to feel alive. This person probably loved your inside jokes, and maybe the way you guys could go from like bickering to laughing and falling around the floor in one breath. This person could have had a really distinctive or contagious laugh, like you couldn't help but laugh along with them. They could have had certain vices they'd joke about too, like they could have sometimes had like a flat or monotone effect in terms of how they would communicate, or they would talk about like trauma very casually or something. I am getting that. And yeah, on the surface, like this person would laugh things off. They were very bravado, but underneath there was a very soft heart and, you know, often very heavy emotions that they would struggle to regulate. Like, and you were aware of this, like they could self-sabotage when things got good. They could have had like patterns of avoidant and anxious behavior. They could ghost, they could do disappearing acts, they could kind of like duck from serious talks, they could try and like always jump in with a joke, like they struggle to take things seriously. But they're saying like with you somehow reached them the furthest, like you got them to open up in a way that they normally don't. Even if you feel like they didn't tell you everything, you share secrets, and they're saying they're keeping them. It's like a pinky swear. I'm seeing a pinky swear. They're still loyal, and they're saying like, don't worry, we'll laugh about it when we meet again. And you know, you were this person's chosen family, even if at times life took you in different directions. And they're teasing you now as well. Like, I feel like this person still watches your little life bloopers. Like, if you have those moments where you do something and you make yourself cringe, this person's kind of laughing at you. I'm getting cackling, they're actually like cackling. Or if you roast someone and they deserve it, this person is on the sidelines like, yeah, get them, like I saw that. But it's all love. It really is. You can probably still hear their laugh sometimes. Like sometimes you think you've heard it, like it's so vivid to you and it feels really unforgettable. It's the kind of laugh that really like started in their chest and it spilled over until everyone else had to join in, and it really didn't matter how annoyed you were with them. If they really got going, you couldn't help but crack up too. It was medicine in its own way, and you still carry the sound of it I'm getting like this was somebody who hated everyone, but they loved you. Like they hated the world, but they loved you. So they could be like kind of cynical, or they could joke about dark things. They could be a bit sarcastic, but oh my God, they loved you. And I feel like it was an absolute delight and a privilege to make this person laugh, because maybe sometimes like they seemed a little bit moody. So when something really got them going, it felt like a privilege or a reward to see that. I feel like I'm getting more confirmations now, because at first it's almost like this person, they just wanted me to get going, or they didn't want me to touch on certain things. And they weren't standoffish, but they were almost saying like, who the fuck's this? Like, they just want to speak to you, like, not me. And that is kind of how this person was in life. I feel like you were theirs, they were yours. They didn't want to let anyone else in. Like, you were ride or die. It's that kind of thing. But yeah, I am getting more confirmations now, and there's something about sleep quirks coming through, and I think we did get some confirmations about that. But this could be the kind of person, this won't be for everyone, these are just extra details. I'm seeing like, do you know in like films about like frat parties and things like that, or just like teenagers getting together and getting drunk, there's always like some character who will like pass out somewhere and everyone will draw on their face. I'm thinking of like Skins as well. People will draw on their face, like they'll often draw like a dick or just a mustache or something like that, if I guess they're being more innocent. But yeah, there's something about maybe that happening at a party. This person, maybe they would pass out anywhere, like they'd fall asleep really easily, or they'd talk or say weird things in their sleep. Some of you might remember these funny moments where they had their mouth wide open and they were drooling and everyone was like laughing around them, or if it was like a movie night or something, they would always be the first to just like fall asleep anywhere in weird positions or something. Yeah, these are like little quirks that they had. It doesn't have to be that specific one, but little quirks that feel really unique to them, and they were these like distinct fingerprints, I guess, of who this person was. And you still think about those things because you feel like, oh, I'm never gonna meet someone like that again. And yeah, they're saying like what you had, it was really special. I'm also getting, because this person could have had like a darker sense of humour, you and this person could have already talked about like death or funerals, and they might have even said to you like, oh, play something ridiculous at my funeral. And I'm thinking of like, I think it was a meme I saw recently, but it said something like, oh, at my funeral I just want somebody to stand up and say, well, she had good pussy. And it made me laugh, and I can imagine this person kind of having that humour where they're like, oh, will you play like WAP at my funeral? Or they dared you to stand up and say something crazy. And it feels like they're giving you this cheeky little nudge now where they're like, why didn't you say it? Like, I was waiting for you to say it. They're teasing you still. They're wanting you to remember that, you know, laughter still belonged, even in the hardest moments, even in the most difficult conversations. But they were like, oh, why didn't you say it? Like, I dared you to. Like, and they're kind of saying, like, I knew you wouldn't do it, you pussy, or something like that. This person loved teasing you, playing with you. They could have even said something like, oh, you better pick, like, good pictures where I look good at my funeral, or I'm going to haunt you, or something like that. But yeah, there's something as well about a kind of, I don't want to say self-fulfilling prophecy, but they are bringing this up that, like, when they were alive, and they might have even said this to you, like, they used to say, like, oh, I can't ever picture myself getting older. Like, I can't picture myself getting married or having kids or settling down. And that doesn't mean that they wanted to go, but it's more that they just couldn't imagine a future. And a part of what makes this grief so strange is that now you might be like doing those things if some time has passed, and there's this bittersweet pang of wishing that they had the same chance. Like, you wish that for them, I think, but I think they acknowledge, like, they knew they weren't meant to be here for a long time. I think they do keep acknowledging that, even if you feel differently, like you feel like it's a missed opportunity. But I think they're kind of saying, like, I lived how I wanted to, and a part of me, I always kind of knew it might end up this way, and there's nothing like you or anyone else could have done about that. So in terms of like how their passing changed you, if they do know that their passing altered you, like, I feel like it really was an awakening moment to you. It jolted you awake to how fragile and how fleeting human life really is, and maybe you have actually made choices differently since, like, in a good way though. Maybe you've been less willing to waste time, and maybe you've been more willing to show up for yourself, and it feels like they're really proud of that shift. Even if it did come from pain, they are glad that it sort of planted a seed for you to, I guess, like, live with more intention. But yeah, with the 6 of Wands reversed and the 4 of Cups, this is so them. Like, this is so innately them. On the surface, this person could look larger than life, you know, class clown, daredevil, the one everyone watched. But inside, the applause never really landed. You know, the Six of Wands reverse says that the validation they got didn't touch this sore spot that was at the core of them. Like, they could win and they could still feel like nothing changed. And Four of Cups is that sort of numb, bored, flat, I'm over it energy. It's them sort of reaching for chaos just to feel something. And in your dynamic, you were one of the only people, they're saying, who could see through the show. And you were the person who was like, okay, but how are you really? And they're acknowledging how often you tried to pull their gaze to the cup that they kept ignoring, the healthy, genuine opportunity for connection or stability that they'd overlook while chasing the next high, the next spike. And you always knew when their jokes were actually shields. You got that about them, and they loved you for clocking that. Like, even when they rolled their eyes and they were like, shut up, like, just not that deep, it was that deep, like, and they knew that you saw it. They did. With Death and the Seven of Pentacles reversed, you know, death here isn't just their passing, although, yeah, it does mark that sort of before and after in your world. It's also in relation to how they lived, sort of all or nothing with intensity, burning through chapters, then slamming doors. And, you know, with the Seven of Pentacles reversed, they struggled with that slow middle. They struggled with the tending, the waiting, the, you know, stick with it even when it isn't thrilling. That's why projects, habits, even relationships could stall right as things were supposed to be taking root. And this person, they're not asking you to rewrite their story. They're actually being really honest about it. And they're also saying, like, you were the one person who sometimes got them to pause. Like, you were the one person who made them think maybe things can be different, like to choose care over chaos, even if it didn't stick every single time. Those pauses added months, memories, they added more time to this person's life. They got them to stand still, and they want you to keep choosing what they found the hardest. They want you to keep choosing being steady and the beautiful, sometimes boring work of cultivating a life, because they're saying you're doing an amazing job of it, and they're so proud of you for that, pal, too. The Three of Swords is the ache you carry. It's that sort of jagged, sharp, senseless rip, the thing that still stings in quiet moments. And the Three of Swords is telling you, they're saying it's okay that it still hurts, even if years have passed. Even if when you think about it, you get a bit angry, or you feel frustrated, or you struggle to forgive what's happened. They're saying that's okay, but the High Priestess is the channel you share. It's the unspoken understanding that you and this soul had in life. And it's the way that they now, like, tap into your dreams. They give you a random set of lyrics that get stuck in your head. In your bond with them, you often heard the things they couldn't say, and that hasn't stopped. When a phrase drops into your head, you hear it in their voice, or when a line loops in your head, or when you get the urge to text them and then you remember it might not get through to them, they're saying do it anyway. Like, that is the priestess stitching the thread between you. They're asking you to trust those moments as contact and not just coincidence. With the Ten of Cups and the Three of Cups, this is so sweet. This is the version of them that you loved most. When you saw them laughing, when you saw them being kind of soft, like those found family moments. And the Ten of Cups is their wish for you right now. They want you to live a life of quiet contentment. They want you to find a home in your own life. And they're saying with that Three of Cups, this is your permission to find your people again. They're saying other soul family, cousins, soul friends, the ones who can make you belly laugh like they did. They're saying they know it's not going to be exactly the same. They know those individuals will never replace the bond that you and this person shared, but they're saying your story isn't meant to be just like all solemn just because theirs ended abruptly. They want you to like have little celebrations planned on the calendar, little rituals of joy, and they want you to make new inside jokes that make you laugh until you snort, the way you used to when you guys were together. They're saying they'll be there for all of the toasts. I feel like there's been a question playing on your mind throughout this, and again, this might only be for a subset of individuals, but some of you guys might be wondering, like, do they regret it? And their answer is complicated, their answer is layered. They regret hurting you, they maybe regret not getting to say goodbye, and they regret leaving you with questions, but they're saying, like, regret as a philosophy, they weren't really built that way. You know, they lived without it, and And they're also saying, with startling amounts of honesty, they're saying if it hadn't been this moment, it likely would have been another. You know, this individual, they struggle to regulate. One tiny trigger could knock everything sideways, and it wasn't a moral failure. You know, it was a nervous system that needed more than what they could give it. And for those of you who felt like a tiny, minuscule sliver of relief alongside the grief, maybe in regards to no longer worrying about getting that next call or the next relapse or the next accident or the next spiral, they blessed that relief. They wanted that for you, and they are relieved too. And they're saying there's no pain, there's no heaviness, there's no chaos now for them. They're saying, I can breathe now. But you're allowed to feel everything. They're saying the love, the missing, the yearning, the anger, the tenderness. You're allowed to laugh at the dumb stories you guys shared. You're allowed to feel fury at the unfairness of it all. And they're the first to say, like, yeah, I did stupid stuff. Like, you get to be honest about that. We weren't angels. I wasn't. They're saying truth honours that bond. And I feel like what they loved most about you, pal, too. First of all, they had the most fun ever with you, like memories that could never ever be replicated, even if it was a long time ago. But they're also saying that you believed in them when they couldn't. You named their gifts, you hyped their potential, and you know, even when they waved you off, those things did land. You were the one who could get serious with them and the one who could make them laugh for real. And they're sorry for the times that they snapped or ghosted or shrugged off your caring as nagging, because it wasn't. They knew it was love. They know that now. They also could see how their passing changed you, like how you started living with more intent, knowing how fragile time is, and they're proud of the ways that you've been choosing life, you know, commitment to your routines, healing, your goals. Even if it's messy, they clap for every tiny thing you do. They are like your biggest hype soul right now. And the gentle guidance they want to give you, they're saying say yes to joy. They're nudging you to let life back in. You know, they're saying make some low stakes plans. Put on your music too loud whilst you tidy. Start more traditions, things that belong to you. They're saying that joy doesn't betray the grief. It gives it somewhere soft to rest. They're saying have micro celebrations for everyday wins. They want to be clinking glasses with you. They want to see you dancing badly. They want to see you take terrible photos of yourself that you'll laugh at later. They're also saying take risks. Take a leaf from my book. They're saying take risks, just different ones, you know. Not the self-destructive dares that they used to chase, not the highs that they used to chase, the heart-forward kinds of risks, the sending the pitch, posting the piece, booking the trip, applying for the thing, trying the class, telling someone you care. The risks they want you to take are the risks that build a fulfilling life, not the risks that blow a life up. And they're saying if your hands shake, it means it matters. Do it anyway, and they'll step in on your behalf if needed. And for their final word, they're saying what we had was real. They want you to know that it was so real. Chosen family, I keep getting that. Even if you weren't related, they're saying they'd still choose you. In 1,000 lifetimes, they'd choose you. And if you were family, biologically, they'd choose you anyway. You're one of the few they'd choose. And they're saying the time was short, but it was bright. It was so bright, and it still is. And they're different now. They're calmer, they're clearer, they're genuinely excited. You wouldn't often see them excited in life, maybe because of all the things that were going on in their head. Like, they'd get excited chasing the next high, but you could always feel that it wouldn't always land. But their eyes are lit now, like, because they're excited watching you build a life that's bigger than anything the two of you could imagine back then. And they're raising a glass as well. They're saying to you, like, to the joy you haven't met yet, the joy you're yet to encounter, to the people you're gonna love, to the risks you'll take that lead to home, not harm, and to the day that you publish that book, or you travel to that place you guys always wanted to go, or you graduate, or you laugh till you cry. Yeah, you'll have so many more of those times, and they are still going to be alongside you. They're saying, I love you, I'm here, live loudly, live proudly for both of us. So we are going to finish this reading by looking at a few tea leaf confirmations for you, pal, too. So let's have a look at what we pulled. Okay, so we have got Apple, temptation will test you. We have got Broken wishbone, wish will not be granted. We have got Tent, temporary situation. And we've got Purse, pay attention to your finances. To be honest, Apple feels like it perfectly describes their energy. This individual, they were always yearning for something outside of themselves, you know, chasing a high they could never quite catch. And for those of you where this passing connects to like an impulsive, or I guess tempting choice in the moment. They know now that there was no going back from that moment. And they're saying, like, don't do the same. Don't be pulled towards easy fixes that numb or distract but don't heal. Maybe in your grief you have been tempted yourself towards things that weren't the best for you, not in the exact same way as them, but they're saying like they understand it and they understand better than anyone how tempting it can be, but they're urging you to feel your feelings, let yourself hold all of it, the anger, the grief, the forgiveness that flickers in and out. Healing isn't linear and there is no shortcut through it. With Broken Wishbone, I think this speaks to the heartbreak of promises that never got kept. Maybe you promised each other you would be at each other's weddings, or your kids would grow up together, or you'd be next to each other when you were graduating, like you'd share these milestones together, and they regret that those futures got ripped away because ultimately they always wanted to be loyal to you. But here's their reassurance, like they are saying that they are still keeping some promises, just in different ways. Like, you know, if you guys ever joked together, if one of you said like, oh, if I die first, I'll come back and haunt you, or I'll send a sign to show that there's proof of the afterlife, this is them keeping that pact. They can't show up at your wedding or graduation physically, but they are still showing up right here, right now in the way that they can. Yeah, 10 is reminding us everything is temporary. I say this all the time on readings, but literally everything is temporary. They're saying it too. You've been through dark nights, they know that. You've been through grief waves, maybe other struggles too. And they're saying, almost with this cheeky laugh, they're like, pal two, you treat this grief like it's final, but nothing is final. Life itself is temporary. The pain you're carrying right now is temporary. From their vantage point now, they see it so clearly. They were always wise deep down, you knew that. But on Earth, that wisdom kept getting buried under the noise of their human pain and insecurity and the intensity of their emotions. They struggled to break through the fog of their own experiences, you know, the intense highs and lows, the cravings and temptations, the self-sabotage. That's what they got lost in near the end, and they couldn't quite hold on to the bigger picture for long because the moment-to-moment feelings felt so overwhelming, but now they're free of that weight and they see that everything, joy, grief, mistakes, milestones, is part of a temporary current. You know, nothing lasts forever, not the pain, not the numbness, not even the distance between you guys. They're also saying how time is different for you down here. You know, each year that passes, you might feel a little more distance between you and them. Maybe you're afraid of forgetting how their voice sounds, or the vibration felt when they laughed, or the way their energy felt beside you, and they know that ache, they understand it. They understand how human time stretches for so long that you might one day be 70 looking back and straining to remember the details that once felt so vivid for both of you. But they want to comfort you. At the same time, doesn't work the same where they are. The years might feel endless to you, but for them it will be a blink, it will be nothing, and when you reunite it will feel like no time has passed at all. You'll pick up exactly where you left off, like the conversation was just paused for a moment. They're saying it will be like when you pause a voice note, you know, like on WhatsApp you can do that. It'll be like a second where you're just like, oh, sorry about that, I was just doing XYZ. That's what it'll feel like. And until then, they want you to live it up. They're saying take risks, spice things up. They're saying do it for the plot because they love watching you live freely in all the ways they couldn't. And with Purse, it's kind of like a practical but heartfelt message. Like if you're struggling financially or materially, this is their way of acknowledging it and also reminding you it will not be forever. They want you to know that you have what you need for now and that more will come, and they may even send you a few little winks if they can. You might find money on the pavement randomly or down the back of the couch, something like that. You might find money showing up in strange and random ways, and that could be from them. And their overall message here is you've got this, like you'll rise again, and the era you're in right now isn't permanent. So that is what I'm getting for you, pal two. I really hope you enjoyed this reading today. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing your beautiful energy with me and this collective. I just want to say that engagement helps me and this channel so much. So if you enjoyed the reading, please like, comment, share, hype, and subscribe if you feel called to do so. It really does mean the world. I completely understand if you don't want to share personal details. This can be a really intimate topic, But even if you just let me know which pile you picked or you drop an emoji in the comments, that all helps me a lot, and it just lets me know that these messages are finding the right people. It's almost my birthday, happy Scorpio season, and honestly the best birthday present I could ask for is just hearing your kind words of affirmation and just knowing that this reading supported you in any tiny way. So thank you again for spending this time with me. I'm sending you so much love and protection and blessings, and I'll see you in my next reading. Take care, pal 2. Hi Pal 3 Collective! If you chose the Wild Unknown Tarot and you chose the Ghost in a Raincoat sticker and you chose Pal 3, you are in the correct place. Welcome to your reading, friends. This reading is titled Beyond the Veil, Messages from the Afterlife, what they want you to know. If you'd like the full breakdown regarding everything this reading will entail, please check out my introduction. I do go through absolutely everything there. I will also leave some details in the pinned comment below for your reference. If you are unsure in any way whether this reading is for you, I would recommend checking those out first, since this topic can be very sensitive. Just know that these messages are here to support you with encouragement, with love, and with guidance from beyond. Whether you connect with the idea of a passed on loved one, an ancestor, a spirit guide, or a higher version of yourself, these are your messages from the liminal, from the place beyond time, offering reassurance, clarity, and perspective. As usual, we're going to be using tarot cards and oracle cards today. I'm going to pop your little sticker to one side for now. We have our angel number oracle on this side, our archetypes oracle on this side, and the tarot here. So we're going to start off by looking at the tarot. So over here on the left, we have the Son of Swords, that's the Page of Swords, and clarifying the Page of Swords, we have got the Seven of Cups. We have got the Nine of Pentacles, and clarifying the Nine of Pentacles is the Father of Wands, so the King of Wands. We have got the Three of Swords, and clarifying the Three of Swords, we have got the Empress. That is a beautiful card. And over here we have got the Moon, and we've got the Two of Pentacles, clarifying the Moon. Your angel number is 567. You are evolving spiritually and emotionally, moving towards greater wisdom and understanding. And your archetype card is King. Oh, we've had this in a recent reading. Light attributes, enlightened benevolent leadership, benefiting those in your charge. Shadow attribute, excessive feelings of entitlement, rulership without restraint. So I usually like to start these readings by mentioning the numbers on the cards, and of course we are using the angel number oracle deck today, so I'll touch on the meaning here, but these numbers can also be relevant in terms of dates, ages, life paths, repeating synchronicities, or astrological house/sign themes. So the angel number 567 points to positive change, personal growth, and spiritual development. You know, staying optimistic through transitions, embracing new opportunities, and trusting that you are on track for something very, very fulfilling. You know, in relationships, 567 can show a journey from some kind of instability or change to a more balanced and harmonious way of being, and also into like deeper connection and wisdom, like with the number 7 as well. So definitely themes of spiritual and personal growth, and something about connection moving from a bit of a wobble to balance and to deeper understanding. If we look at the numerical breakdown, you know, 5 is representative of change and freedom, 6 is representative of balance, responsibility, domestic harmony even, and 7 is like spirituality, inner wisdom, good fortune. So yeah, it's like about a sequence moving from like instability, change, to balance, and to spiritual insight as well. That could be really, really relevant to this reading today. In terms of astrological houses coming through, we have the 5th house, Leo energy, creativity, romance, something about children, something about pleasure. The 6th house, so Virgo, daily routines, service, health, or pets. And the 7th house, Libra, so partnerships, contracts, mirroring as well. May, June, or July birthdays could be relevant. Being born on the 5th, 6th, or 7th of a month might also be significant. The rain themes are very, very strong in this pile today. Maybe somebody has just bought a new winter raincoat or a new umbrella. I'm getting somebody looking out of a window at like heavy rain beating down. Maybe somebody listens to rain sounds to go to sleep. I'm getting somebody watching a thunderstorm. I don't know if this is a coincidence or this is how it's meant to look. But this sticker makes me think of Georgie from It. So the film It could be relevant, Stephen King books or films could be relevant. There could be a fear of clowns, and also like themes surrounding loss of innocence. That's coming through if we think about like the overall theme of that book. Really randomly, I don't know why, but as I'm looking at this Empress card, I'm getting, I think it's the William Blake poem, the one that's like tiger, tiger, burning bright. So there's something about like the awe and the fear of creation, the duality of good and evil, and something about like unanswerable questions that is pertinent to this reading today. I'm also getting something about the zoo and something about animals. I'm now thinking of that book, The Tiger Who Came to Tea. I'm thinking of children's books, children's illustrations. I'm also getting something about YA books or literature. Somebody here could do tattoos, something about animal tattoos specifically. I'm also hearing nursery rhymes. I'm thinking of The Owl and the Pussycat specifically. There's also something about somebody being a rap or hip hop fan. Somebody really loves the lyricism, the flow, the rhyme. I'm seeing a lighthouse in my mind's eye as well. I'm also seeing wellies. And I'm seeing a zebra crossing. I'm also seeing a cherub with really chubby cheeks, curly hair. Again, there's that theme of innocence. So those are the main confirmations coming through. These don't have to resonate for this to be your pile. It's just like extra messages for specific people if any of those things do hit home. So who this is, I am oddly enough getting a masculine energy here, and the only reason I say it's odd is because the Empress card is really speaking to me, but I actually feel like that Empress card might be in relation to your energy, and I feel the same for the moon, you know, nurturing, giver of life, soft and strong, whilst the Son of Swords, the Page, and the Father of Wands, the King of Wands, and the King archetype here showing up on your Oracle card, that points towards maybe their presentation, somebody who is curious, bold, protective, that sort of leadership energy. I keep seeing a little boy though. I keep being called to talk about a little boy specifically. This doesn't have to necessarily relate to you knowing of a physical little boy passing, but this is how they are presenting in that liminal space. It's a little boy who is curious, playful, innocent. For some, this is indeed a child soul connected to you, and I want to give like an extra gentle trigger warning here. I know you've come to this reading knowing what it might be about, but yeah, for a subset of you, themes of fertility, pregnancy loss, or loss of a child are present. And if that's you, this could be that soul visiting, like forever bonded with you, I'm getting. And I will be as sensitive as possible. Like, please take care of yourself. And if this is going to be too much, then absolutely step away. Like, it doesn't have to be a literal child. For some of you, it could be a spirit guide in child form, or it could be like an older male, maybe a partner, a father, a grandfather, arriving as his younger self, like the bright, inquisitive version that he still is, let's say. Or it could be your inner child coming through as a guide in this childlike form, but there is a strong theme of childhood and innocence here regardless. And I actually think like you choosing the Wild Unknown as a deck, that says a lot, to be honest. Like, there's something about the rawness of nature's laws, like something about how life can be untamable and unpredictable and sometimes cruel, and yet also somehow holy. It's like you've been trying to transmute pain into meaning, not to bypass grief, not at all, like not in any way, but to survive it. This love that you had with this soul, I feel like it opened you up in ways you didn't even know were possible. There's a privilege in loving so wholly, and even in the devastation of loving something that mortality can touch, and you're allowed all of it. They're showing me this duality here. It's like the beauty and cruelty of being alive at the same time. And you yourself, in relation to this person's passing, you might have wrestled with these questions like, you know, how can I go on? How can I keep existing when the world allows this kind of pain? How am I supposed to breathe when something so wrong has happened? And at the very same time, you remember the privilege it was to love this soul, even knowing that everything we love on this earth can be touched by mortality. And that's part of the human condition, isn't it? You know, we know deep down that love makes us vulnerable, that one day, in some way, we will lose the things and the people we cherish, but we do it anyway. We keep choosing love we keep choosing connection even when it hurts. That's what makes it so powerful, and that's what makes it so brave, because when you opened your heart to this soul, you knew there was a risk, you knew there was no guarantee, but you still said yes. And this soul sees that courage in you. You chose to love them. You chose to want them in your world. You chose to dream of a future together. And that is not in any way erased by the loss. It's engraved in your bond forever. And they do feel your questions, you know, they feel you asking, like, what could I have done differently? Or why did this happen? How can the world be so cruel? Like, they see you seeking answers, and they've sat with those same feelings, but from their higher vantage point, they don't carry the why in quite the same way, because from where they are, they hold only the love. But they recognize that you're here, still in that mess and still feeling the ache of that duality, and you're here trying to reconcile it. You're trying to reconcile with this idea that, you know, good things can happen in the same breath as devastating things, that life can be tender and brutal at the same time, and that's overwhelming, and sometimes it feels impossible to hold. And they want you to know that they see you holding it, even when you think you're failing, and the fact that you keep showing up even when you feel completely broken is testament to your strength, is what they're saying. So let's have a look at your cards in a little bit more depth, and let's see what this soul is wanting to say. I feel like the Page of Swords and the Seven of Cups, this feels like them. You know, they're bright-eyed, they're full of questions, they're very quick, they're chatty, they're endlessly curious. I feel like this is a soul who is bouncing around the room. They're picking things up, putting them back down again, you know, asking a question and then asking a totally different question mid-conversation and then circling back later. And you might recognize yourself in that too. Your connection is quite, I would say, mercurial. There's something about late night thoughts, like the urge to journal or the urge to talk out loud. And if you've ever wondered, like, am I just talking to myself? They're saying, like, you're talking to me as well. There's something about being chatty here. But the Seven of Cups is kind of that swirl of unanswered questions, these rabbit holes of why, somebody keeps asking why, these mental replays of alternate timelines, of potential of what could have been, what could I have done. This soul loves your curiosity, but they don't want it to turn into this courtroom where you are both the prosecutor and the defendant. Like, they're saying not everything here was yours to control, and sometimes nature is nature. And I want to share a very small example to ground what I mean about, like, randomness and how people can kind of project fear when it comes to things that are out of our control. And I have talked about this before. I don't want to equate this in any way to your situation. I just use these examples to provide context so you can put it into, like, a tangible scenario. But I have talked about this on the channel before. Like, last year I caught a mild cold and then I ended up in hospital with pneumonia. And just for full clarity, like, I'm in my early 30s, I'm otherwise healthy. Well, I was otherwise healthy. I never had any lung issues, I didn't smoke, I didn't have asthma, nothing like that, yet there I was very unwell, and it's actually left me with permanent health changes. I haven't gone into detail about what those are, but I have said that it has affected every aspect of my life, which is true. And when this happened, like, well-meaning people tried to sort of get to the bottom of why somebody otherwise young and healthy would get pneumonia so badly that it could have ended a lot worse. And they sort of tried to solve that for me, and they would ask, like, oh, well, were you taking this supplement? Like, you need to make sure you're taking that. Or were you run down? Like, did you go to work sick? Did you do XYZ? And I'm sure a lot of the time people were just trying to offer, like, genuine solutions, or they were trying to sort of suggest things like, oh, well, have you thought of this? Like, maybe it's because of this, or maybe it's this. But sometimes that can feel like you're being blamed, when in actuality, sometimes people just get unlucky. And yeah, like, I have learned a lesson to maybe, like, not push through when my body needs rest. Like, that's something I could definitely work on, and that's what I've taken from that situation. But I think I really did just get unlucky. And I understand people trying to, like, come up with a solution, but it does feel sort of unhelpful when what has happened and you're already kind of dealing with the grief. I know it's a very different kind of grief for me. It's a grief of, like, what my body used to be able to do versus what I'm left with now. And when people are like, oh, well, did you try this? Did you do this? that can feel like being beaten when you're already down in a way. And I guess a lot of it is like they're trying to sort of work through their own fears. A lot of these questions are about their own fears because, you know, if it can randomly happen to me, a healthy youngish person, then it could happen to them, and that's scary. So they look for that reason to feel safer, to make themselves feel better. And that could be the case. Like, I know it'll be a very, very different scenario, but if you've experienced people doing that, even around your loss, especially with something like pregnancy loss or a sudden passing, I guarantee you have thought of every eventuality of what could I have done differently already. And sometimes there is no solid answer. Sometimes these things just happen, and having people like, oh, well, like, did you go for all your checks? Like, did you make sure you had all your midwife appointments? Did you take these pregnancy supplements? Having people ask you constant questions like that, it isn't helpful. Even if people are trying to be helpful, sometimes it is not well received. And, you know, I want you to know this. Well, this soul wants you to know this. Like, their search for reasons does not mean that you did anything wrong. The page wants you to use your mind for finding meaning, you know, writing, learning, creating, not self-punishment, curiosity for insight, not indictment. They're saying like there's nothing you could have done. Sometimes things just are. The Nine of Pentacles is you choosing dignity in these tiny, holy ways. It's these moments where you brush your hair even when you don't want to, you make tea, you open the blinds, you pay your bills, you step outside for 10 minutes of air. They clap for that. Truly they do, and these don't seem like big things, but they're saying like healing often looks like ordinary rituals, and it feels like you've been slowly reclaiming bits of self. You know, you've been slowly trying to practice self-respect and getting back to you again. This Father of Wands, they're the vision keeper, they're brave, they're warm, they're sovereign. They're the one who carries the torch even when the path is foggy. This soul keeps saying that you made them feel like royalty. They're saying you treated them like a king, respected, protected, adored. And the qualities you dreamed for them, these qualities of boldness, of leadership, of creativity, of warmth, they're saying that all of those qualities are alive in you. For those of you where you are like grieving potential, you were preparing for a future that didn't happen. You had bought clothes, you had names picked out, you had schools that you were going to apply for, tiny little shoes, things that got ripped away. You know, it's understandable that dreaming now feels so dangerous and scary. Like, some of you guys are afraid of getting too comfortable again. And the Father of Wands asks for one small step anyway. They're saying do it scared, do it anyway. You don't have to see the top of the ladder, you only have to see the next rung. Order one tiny thing for yourself, submit one application, sketch a first page, sit with just one idea. Your empire hasn't crumbled, it's changing form, but the vision can live through you, and they want to see what you build with that vision. And their message here, they're saying, you gave me courage, pal 3, let me give it back. They're saying, take one brave step, I am right beside you. So the Three of Swords with the Empress, it's like the rupture and the remedy. You know, Three of Swords is the clean pain, the moment your world split, the ache that returns in waves, and the Empress is your answer. Creation, softness, body, warmth, safety, mothering yourself. For those of you who are parents navigating a loss that changed absolutely everything, there are no tidy words for this. There just aren't, and I would never want to equate any of my experiences with yours. What I will say from a place of humility is that the Empress keeps repeating, like, you made me feel safe. If that offers you reassurance, they're saying, you made me feel safe. You know, if you've ever doubted whether you did enough, you did. You held, you loved, you protected with everything you had. But the Empress asks you to nourish yourself now. Give yourself real food. Give yourself a warm bath, a soft jumper, a morning walk, fresh sheets, scents that soothe you. And also create not to bypass the pain, but to transmute it, because you are amazing at that. You know, garden, paint, collage, write, sing, knit, cook, advocate, build a small ritual, whatever feels like life moving through you. You know, you're not replacing what was lost, you're letting love grow around the grief. I feel like some of you guys, you really need to find meaning in this, and I know that is so hard when it doesn't seem like there is any meaning for why something like this could happen. But the example I'm getting, I'm thinking of those families in true crime documentaries. When I'm watching things like that, I just think, how do they go on? Like, how do they show up day after day? with that strength, even when these terrible things, these tragedies have happened to them. That these people, against all odds, they create foundations, laws, scholarships. They create meaning that coexists with pain. Your version of that, it doesn't have to be grand. It can be a tiny altar, it can be a poem, a private journal, a monthly donation to a charity, a letter you write and that you keep. But creation is how your heart breathes within this. And they're saying that your love is still fertile, making something soft in the very place that it hurts. The moon is the howl, the moon is the fog, it's the question with no earthly answers. For many of you, this was sudden and it was very bewildering. Like one moment things felt safe and then the next everything shifted. And the moon says that it's okay if you don't feel over it, because you're not supposed to feel over it. Like grief isn't a linear staircase, it is a tide, it comes in and out. You know, the moon is also dreams, so I would expect visitations from this soul. You know, maybe conversations that you only half remember the next day, a feeling that lingers, a sentence that you wake up with. Even if you can't recall all of the details, the message lands. Like it opens when you're ready. It's like a letter with your name on it. The Two of Pentacles is the divine permission to hold two truths at once. The two truths that life can be cruel and kind, ugly and beautiful, that loss and love breathe together. You are allowed to juggle both. And when you can't face the future, come back to 1 hour, you know, just that little moment that, can I do one thing for myself before bed? What can I do this morning? Routine can be a little rope bridge across the mist in a way. They're saying keep moving gently, I'll meet you in the small rhythms. There's something about this being like a test of faith, and I'm thinking of the Tiger poem. You know, that poem asks how the same hands can make the lamb and make the flame. And you've been there. You're asking, like, how can good exist alongside this? Some days it might feel as though there's no point, and I won't offer try answers. What I feel is a larger tapestry than we can see from here. I am getting this message about like some souls are needed elsewhere. Some stay, and it isn't about who's deserving, it's about roles in a wider design. If you prayed for a miracle and it didn't come, it doesn't mean that you or your loved one were less worthy. It means they're saying they were needed elsewhere. And I know there's like frustration in that, because on your end you could be saying like, but I needed you here, you know, when you prayed for that, and that's unbelievably hard. But they're saying like it's about something bigger. And yeah, nature's law was at play here, and that too is unbearably hard. They're saying they feel most alive in you when you are living though. So when you are able to do so, let pockets of joy back in. Enjoy your hot chocolate, sing a song you love, enjoy the sound of rain at night. Like, this joy doesn't erase them, it includes them, is what they're saying. This soul is young at heart. This soul is fidgety, they're easily excited. They could love animals. I'm getting something about stuffed toys, something about collecting little treasures. I'm hearing a king in the making. And then I'm hearing still a king now. You know, this soul is diplomatic, fair, bold, a natural leader. They keep saying, I would've, but they're saying, but I still am. You know, the confidence you poured into them took, and they are devoted to protecting the queen. That's you. You're their queen, you're their empress. You know, if you planned a future that vanished, it makes sense that you're wary of dreaming, but they're giving you full permission to dream again. New joy, they're saying it's not a replacement, it's a resonance. You'll feel them in your newness. They are most alive in your present moment joy, not in your fear of losing it. So they want to give you a little bit of practical guidance. They're saying one thing at a time. So they're saying choose a single action this week, whether it's an email you need to send, an application, a sketch you've been wanting to do, a recipe you've been wanting to try, even just getting out of your house for 10 minutes, changing your bedding, opening the blinds. They're saying brave doesn't have to be big. They're also saying that when the why loop starts, redirect the mind into making, into creation. You know, write 3 lines, colour a page, journal the questions without demanding answers. They're saying let dreams do their job too. They're saying keep notes by the bed, maybe make a note of your dreams, even fragments count. They're also saying you can talk to them before you go to sleep and you can ask for a sign. They're saying it's okay to make space for the duality too, so when guilt pops up during a happy moment, affirm and whisper to yourself both can be true. Place a hand on your chest, breathe deeply, and let the joy exist alongside the love and alongside the loss. For those specifically who have dealt with like losing a child or a pregnancy loss or anything like that. I won't even pretend to know your exact grief, but I am hearing that this soul, they keep repeating the same thing of like, you made me feel safe. So if you have ever asked like, did I fail? Their answer is no. Straight up no. Like, you protected, you loved, you showed up with the most tender parts of yourself. And they're saying when you're ready, they want you to turn that tenderness towards yourself. They're saying that you talk to them all the time. They heard you. And they're saying let your body be cared for, let your heart be held, and you're allowed to experience pockets of good again without betraying them. That's when they feel close to you, when you're experiencing joy, even if it feels few and far between still. And the message that they kind of want to leave you with, it's them saying like, I'm free, I'm with you, you did enough, you made me feel safe, and I carry your love where I am. They're saying dream again, take one step. When you laugh, when you create, when you let the rain be beautiful again, that's where I'm closest. You'll always be mine and I'll always be yours. So we are going to finish your reading today, pal 3, by looking at your tea leaf cards. So let's have a look at what we pulled for you. These are just for extra clarity and confirmations. Okay, so we have got Flag, do not be tempted to lower your standards. We have got Axe, forces working against you. We have got Well, family wishes come true. And we have got Seahorse, family matters. Okay, so a lot about family here. That could be really significant. A whole lot of family energy coming through. So starting off with Flag, don't lower your standards. I feel like this is really, really important because I feel like some of you in the aftermath of this situation, you might have convinced yourselves that you didn't really want something. Almost like you talked yourself out of a dream as a way of protecting your heart. Because if you don't admit what you truly want, then maybe it won't hurt so much if it doesn't happen, right? But I think for many of you deep down, you do want the thing, you did want it, and the only reason you've tried to deny it is because you are scared. You know, scared to love again, scared to hope again, because you've already learned in the hardest way that even when everything does look safe and certain, even when you fall in love, even when you make plans, even when you're building your family and it feels like things are finally starting to come together, life can still come in and shake everything up without warning, and that fragility, that is fucking terrifying. I know that. But this soul is coming through to tell you, like, don't cheat yourself out of what you really want because of fear. You know, don't settle for less because the past hurt you. They're showing me this imagery of planting a flag, like staking your claim. And yes, they're saying, I know it's scary because last time you staked a claim and you prayed for it and you hoped, it didn't work out. But that doesn't mean that you're not worthy of it. It doesn't mean it's not possible. They're telling you it's safe to try again. If it feels right for you, you don't have to lower your standards. And with Axe forces working against you, I think a lot of you have been wrestling with this belief that the world is against you because of what's happened, especially in those deep moments of grief. It may have felt like you prayed and prayed and you wished, but nobody was listening. And then you might have looked around at others who seemed to get what you wanted so effortlessly, and that thought crept in of like, you know, why them? Why not me? Like, am I not worthy? But this soul wants you to know that was never, ever, ever the case. It's not the case. It never will be. And I know in grief, even if I can't relate to like your exact situation, I do know how easy it is to spiral into those thoughts when we're experiencing a tragedy or something really bad happening. I know it's easy to go into a crisis of faith. Many of us go through that stage where we think like, you know, if there's a higher power, why would they let this happen to me? You know, maybe the universe is punishing me, maybe there's nothing at all. But I want to offer you this analogy because it's the one that always helps me when I'm going through a moment like this. I know nothing helps when you're in the throes of grief, but I tend to think of higher power, whatever you believe in, whether it's God, whether it's spirit guides, the universe. I like to think of spirit as like a mother. So a mother can try her very best to protect her child, but she cannot control the cruelty of the world. Like, nature is a law unto itself. It's not evil, it's neutral, but sometimes the mother can't stop what's happening. What she can do is she can hold her child's hand and guide them with words of wisdom and console them through that pain, but she can't stop it. And that's what higher power does. You know, they're not working against you. The universe is not your enemy. Sometimes life hands us things that no one can control, but that doesn't mean that you are forsaken or forgotten, and you are so deserving of everything you want and more, and that's what you're soul, the soul that's coming through for you, that's what they want you to know. And then we have, well, you know, family wishes coming true. This says it all. This is such a healing message, pile 3. It's about recognizing that your deepest wishes for whatever you want, family, connection, and love, whatever it is, those things are not off limits to you. Even if you have known loss intimately, in a more intimate way than anyone should ever experience, you are allowed to dream again, you are allowed to wish again, and you are allowed to have those wishes fulfilled. This soul is saying that there is enough love for everybody. You know, if this was that example of a pregnancy loss, they want you to know that if one day you choose to have another child, it will never replace them, but it will only add to the love. And when the time comes for reunion, they'll only be excited to meet that soul too. It just means that the soul family is bigger. This is about infinite love. It's love that doesn't run out. It's love that is never divided. It only multiplies. They're saying you still have so much love to give, and other souls who are here on earth or who are still to come, they need that love. This soul doesn't need it because they are already saturated in it. Every day that you live and you choose joy, they are embraced by your love. They're already woven into your heart. But other people, other children, other family members, other friends, you can still pour your love outwards. They are giving you full permission to share it, to keep living, to keep nurturing, and they will never ever feel forgotten. They'll just feel even more love. And yeah, finally with that seahorse, family matters. It's just such a confirmation of everything we've talked about. Family is the very heart of this message. This soul is bonded to you eternally, whether it's through blood or through shared experience or through soul connection. You are their family, you are their home, and that will never ever change. So really all of these cards together, the flag, the axe, the well, the seahorse, they're reminding you, don't stop wanting what you want. Don't settle out of fear. The universe is not against you. Your family wishes can still come true, and family is eternal. You know, it stretches beyond time, beyond life, and even beyond death. So that is what I'm getting for your reading today, pile 3. Thank you so much for being here today and for sharing your beautiful energy with me and this collective. Just as a side note, engagement helps me and this channel so much. So if you enjoyed this reading, if anything resonated with you, please don't forget to like, to comment, to share, to hype, to sub if you feel called to do so. That really does mean the absolute world to me. I completely understand if you don't want to share personal details today. This can be such an intimate topic. But even if you were to just let me know which pile you picked or drop an emoji in the comments, that all helps, and it just lets me know that these messages are reaching the right people. It is almost my birthday, happy Scorpio season, and honestly the best birthday present I could ask for is just hearing your kind words and knowing that this reading helped you, even if it's in like a tiny minuscule way. I just want to support you guys, so thank you again for spending this time with me. I'm sending you so much love and protection and so many blessings. And I will see you in the next reading, pile 3. Take care. Hi pile 4 collective. If you chose the Cozy Witch Tarot and you chose the paper bag ghost sticker and you chose pile 4, you are in the correct place. Welcome to your reading, friends. This reading is titled Beyond the Veil, Messages from the Afterlife, What They Want You to Know. So if you would like a full breakdown regarding what this reading will entail, please check out my introduction. I go through absolutely everything there. I will also leave some details in the pinned comment below for your reference. If you are in any way unsure about whether this reading is for you, I would check those out first, since I know this topic can be incredibly sensitive. Please know these messages are here to support you with nothing but encouragement, love and guidance from beyond. So whether you connect with a passed on loved one, an ancestor, a spirit guide, or a higher version of yourself, these are messages from the liminal, the place beyond time, offering reassurance, clarity and perspective. We're going to be using tarot cards and oracle cards today as always, so I'm going to pop your sticker to one side for now so we can dive in. We have our angel number oracle here, our archetypes oracle card here, and these are your tarot cards. So we're going to have a look at the tarot cards first. So starting here on the left, we have Judgment reversed. All the signs say that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And the clarifier is the Hermit. There are some things that must be done on your own. We have got number 13, Broom, which is death. Tidy up your life so you can make space for something better. The death card has come through so many times today, which, I mean, isn't surprising. Like, the reading is about the afterlife, but whoa, that 8th house energy. The clarifier for Death is King of Pentacles. True success isn't just about money, it's about happiness too. And we have got the Seven of Swords reversed. Are your actions really as selfless as you think? And the clarifier for the Seven of Swords reversed is the Chariot. You'll never get anywhere if you keep standing still. The Chariot came through in reverse too. We have got Queen of Swords. Don't you dare lower your voice for anyone. Don't you dare bow forward. I love this deck. And the clarifier for that is the Patient Witch. That's the Hanged Man. Learn to get comfortable with sitting still whenever necessary. The angel number we pulled for you is 456. You have the power to make things happen. It's time for you to take action with faith and confidence, knowing that your angels are guiding you every step of the way. We love that power 4. And your archetype card is Trickster, Light Attribute, Transcending Convention, Stuffiness and Predictable Behaviour, Shadow Attribute, Manipulating Others through Duplicity. So I always like to start off these readings by mentioning the numbers on the cards. Obviously, I'm going to talk about the angel number meaning. The thing that's calling out to me with this angel number specifically, 456, it's a clean sequence. You know, it's moving from a stable base through change into this new, steadier chapter. There's something about progress and support and practical blessings in career, money, and relationships coming through. The dates, the 4th, 5th, or 6th could be relevant. Somebody could have an April, May, or June birthday. Life path 4, 5, or 6. Astrologically speaking, 4th house Cancer energy could be relevant, 5th house Leo energy, and 6th house Virgo. I was also getting like very mercurial vibes with that Trickster coming through. So Gemini and Virgo allowed here. And randomly, Capricorn too. Like, don't sleep on Capricorn humour. It's very like dry, silly, sarcastic, prank coded when they want to be, so that could be relevant. None of these have to be relevant for this to be your pile. I'm just like giving the quick hits that are coming through. Someone here could actually be a magician or know how to do like party tricks. Maybe you can just do like weird things with your body, like maybe you're bendy or something like that. That's coming through for somebody. Something about lodges and camping is coming through. I'm getting something about home comfort. Somebody here lives in hoodies and leggings. Somebody here loves nothing more than coming home from work and like kicking their shoes off and getting straight into their pajamas. Somebody here has like favourite outfits that are absolutely worn until they're in threads, like there's holes in the thighs or in the knees or something like that. I'm getting that somebody here sits in weird positions. Like I'm getting something about legs being elevated. Maybe some of you guys need to do that for health reasons, or that's just what feels comfortable. Something about compression garments is coming through. I'm also getting somebody has pots or eds, is that what it's called? It's come through before in the readings. But yes, sitting in weird positions might make this more comfortable, might make you less dizzy or something. Somebody needs to go through some boxes in their house. There are piles of boxes or clutter that are waiting to be sorted. This could be a pull to declutter some of that. Some of you guys, there's something about like you've just recently bought a personalised item. Maybe you have like specific stickers on your iPad case or like doodles on your desk, or just something like the wheels from this card on the Chariot card where it's covered in flowers. It's something like that. Like you personalise your space, you like to do that. Somebody here has Christmas on the brain. Maybe for somebody, Christmas is a hard time, like an anniversary of maybe this person passing around that time or something. Maybe somebody has a birthday near then. Or some of you, it's just like you're thinking about Christmas because maybe you're thinking about what to get people, you've been looking at stuff, or maybe you've had like Christmas songs stuck in your head. I'm getting like an earworm Christmas song, even though it's months early. Somebody here has just bought a pair of new boots. Somebody here loves to go trinket hunting. Like I'm thinking of getting something that's really thrifted or unique, something rare, something you can't get at other places. I'm getting something about like holiday stalls, and I'm seeing books everywhere. Like somebody has multiple books on the go. Somebody also loves collecting rocks or little random things from walks. So that's coming through. So those are the main confirmations that I'm getting. So in terms of who this soul is and your dynamic, this soul is the archetype of the trickster, but it's in the sweetest and most playful sense. This is someone who kept magic alive for you, who still keeps magic alive for you. This is the person who could keep a straight face while they kind of spun a yarn, and they'd give you a little wink and you were never really sure if they were joking. This is probably somebody who isn't or wasn't big on gushy words, but they showed love by knowing you and by, I want to say, bringing you tiny treasures. So back to that trinkets thing, like I can just picture this person turning up with a paper bag of curious items, like a thrifted out of print book from the 1800s, or this smooth rock that they found with a random pattern, or, you know, one of their funny little silly drawings that they did specifically for you. And other relatives might have said, like, oh, why have you brought Pal for that dusty book? But you lit up because it showed that they understood your soul. This is somebody who could have taught you silly little tricks. I'm getting like this being the stereotypical person who's like, oh, what's that behind your ear? Or something like that. They could have done like silly little pranks as well. Maybe they taught you old games, like they taught you chess, or they took you camping and they showed you how to set up a tent and they showed you like survival skills, but they did it with some kind of whimsy. I'm getting something about they were very whimsical. This person could have loved history. They could have had a lot of historical knowledge. I'm getting like they might have had a very science and mathsy type brain, and they might have been good when it comes to like pattern recognition, but they were somehow both methodical and scattered at the same time, like a bit eccentric, I guess. You might have found like half finished drawings and open books left mid-page in their home. They were always hopping from one conversation to another, going off on tangents, like from something logical to folklore and then back again. I'm also getting the word eclectic. Some of them, it's like they might have had like neurodivergent vibes. I don't want to say vibes because I don't want to like undermine neurodiversity, but I get the impression, like, especially if you guys are neurodivergent, like you could have recognized some of your traits in them, but maybe in their generation things like that weren't really diagnosed. But maybe you noticed they had like this hyper focus, or they would get lost in their special interests. I'm getting something about trains, birds, models, collections. This person could have struggled to let go of things. They could have been like a borderline hoarder, and they could have had like a very particular way of doing things. Like they liked things a certain way, is what I'm getting. And they weren't like, they could have had a bit of a scattered house, but it wasn't in a way of like dirty or untidy because they were too lazy or something like that. It was like they'd flip from one thing to another and they'd get lost in like the jigsaw puzzle that they were working on. So like other things went by the wayside. It's something like that. They get so focused on what they were doing. I'm getting the impression this soul was rarely angry. They were ever the calm diffuser. If you smashed a glass, for example, this will be the type of person to like whisper, like, oh, quick, before the glass police arrive. And it wouldn't be to scare you, but they kind of turn the lesson into a game. This person could have had like a lot of dad jokes. They could have used odd words as well, like old-fashioned words. They might have also been a hermit by preference, like they were very happy in their own company. Some of them could have possibly been like the unmarried fun aunt or uncle, or the older relative who didn't really follow like the societal conventions, or I guess some people might have considered them a bit quirky or a bit strange. But in you, it's like they recognize a kindred spirit. You know, maybe you were the quiet child who, instead of like running around with your siblings, you could sit and draw and read and be just happy in your own company. You know, this person was a bit eccentric, definitely. I'm seeing that they had very kind eyes, or like a signature half smirk. Like they had a bit of like a sparkling something in their eyes. Like you couldn't tell if they were joking some of the time. They had a beautiful mix of logic and woo-woo as well. Like some of you could have been introduced to things like tarot or crystals or pendulums by this person. In another life, I can literally imagine this person being the type to run like an eclectic magic shop, and that is coming through. I could see them doing that. I'm getting that this is the type of person to be able to tell a story, but sometimes, I'm not saying they were lying, but they would like exaggerate, but it was in a fun way. If they would lie in the same way that parents lie to children about Santa. Like it's to keep the magic alive. It's that sort of thing. But you were endlessly fascinated by their stories. They were really entertaining. So in terms of their passing and your processing of that, there is a theme of delay showing up here. And outwardly, you functioned, but inwardly, you could have gone into what people tend to call functional freeze. Like, so on the surface, you were the one supporting other people, you kept yourself busy, you were helpful, you were fine, you made it so people didn't have to worry about you, like you were just getting on with things. And you know, I find this really common. This isn't any kind of like judgment or reflection on you, powerful, and the way you might process grief. Like, society is crazy. Like, when something happens that's tragic, society gives us a few days to grieve and then expects us to just be normal, go back to work, get on with things. And your system kind of needed the opposite. Like, the way you work, you need time and you need privacy to fully feel and process. And it's like, for many of you, there was some element of like numbness, and then the waves hit later when perhaps it felt like everyone else had kind of moved on, like the funeral had been and gone. And that doesn't mean you loved this person less. It means your nervous system chose to protect you first, and then it let the truth in manageable doses because that's what you needed. And this person, they get this. They think similarly to you. They operate kind of similarly to you. And they know your heart is vast. So please, they want you to release any shame about like not performing grief. They know that you process in pockets, like, and you are starting to do that. You could have noticed, like, you have a 5-minute cry here and there when you reread old birthday cards from them, or you hear a song that reminds you of them, or you have a quick sit on the floor looking through these boxes, and that all counts, is what they're saying. That heals too. And, you know, they're saying it's time to start gently letting more truth in, but they're okay with being patient with you because they know that you need that. With Judgment reversed and with the Hermit, this is that feeling of hearing the alarm but hitting snooze because it's too much. I can't deal with that right now. You know, I don't want this to be real. It's not sinking in. You knew a reckoning was coming in grief, in life, in direction, even in how you talk to yourself. But your system said, not yet, like, that's too loud for my ears, I can't cope with that right now. And that doesn't make you avoidant or uncaring, it makes you human. And you specifically often need a longer runway before landing these big truths. And the Hermit is like your anecdote and your sanctuary. It's the quiet after everyone leaves the house. It's the soft lamp on. It's you in your hoodie with your book or your journal, you sitting on the floor amongst the boxes, picking up one card, one note, one memory at a time. This soul is saying the clarity you want isn't out in the noise. It's in your little hermit cave where you get to think. And they love your cave. They used to sit in a cave of their own, you know, surrounded by these half-finished drawings or, you know, these open books or these strange little trinkets that they'd brought home from God knows where. You're not antisocial, you are depth social. Like, you need silence in order to be able to hear yourself. And, you know, often we find, like, when something happens, like somebody passes away, if we have a community, you know, they will often surround us. What do you need? Offering us these platitudes, you know, coming to our aid. But sometimes we just need to be alone and not, I guess, performing for anyone. And this is kind of this practical little nudge from them. They're saying, like, make your hermit time on purpose. Like, make sure you have those 15 minutes after work each day where you're not, like, just using distractions to numb out what you need to feel, but you're actually sifting through some of these feelings. So don't just start doom scrolling on your phone, you know, put your phone on airplane mode or turn it off. Sit down with a cup of something, like meditate even, like allow the thoughts to just be free. And they're asking you to question, like, what truth have I been postponing? And they're asking you to write the messy answer. No fanfare, just straight honesty. So with Death and the King of Pentacles, Death here is your composter. You know, old leaves go in and dark soil comes out. They're not afraid of death. In their hands, it's just alchemy. For you, this is, I think, about letting an identity or an old rule dissolve so that you can step into King of Pentacles level mastery and do something that actually fits your brain, your body, your specific kind of magic. They're saying that you're closer than you think to something that you are scarily good at. Not perfect at, because no one is, but so naturally wired for it that practice won't feel like punishment. It will feel like the most you've felt in ages. It'll feel like you standing in your power. You know, King of Pentacles is deep roots, reliable outcomes, money that grows because skills build. So think like a particular craft, a field, a niche where your methodical side and your whimsical side shakes hands. The trickster in them is grinning. It's saying like, see, the magic is practical. You can bank it. If you've been stuck in a role that grates at your confidence, death is asking, what if that's ending so that you can stop? I'm thinking of that quote. I can't remember what the full quote is, but something about a fish riding a bicycle. So you can stop judging the fish for not riding the bicycle and finally let it swim. The king doesn't posture, not for anyone. The king builds. 1 hour a day spent on the thing that you love turns into 8, and then that turns into people paying you because no one else does it quite like you. They're showing me your hands doing it. You know, that's how they know you'll get there. Your hands remember before your head agrees, is what they're saying. With the Seven of Swords reversed and the Chariot reversed, the Seven of Swords is the mask slipping, but it's your mask. With your own reflection looking back, it's this moment you admit, okay, you know, I don't love this path. I said I did because it was fine and it was responsible and everyone nodded and I got a gold star for coping. But actually I want something else. I want something different. That admission is holy. It's not quitting, it's course correcting. And that Chariot reverse, that explains why you felt stalled. It was the wrong vehicle, it was the wrong route, it was the wrong way. Or, you know, a driver who keeps saying, we're fine, while the handbrake's on. This soul is so gentle here, there's no shaming in this. They're saying, let's tell the truth, and then we can actually go somewhere. And the examples they're giving, this could be staying in a job that just doesn't fit your wiring, and then thinking that you're bad at work. You're not, you're just miscast in the role. This could be numbing feelings to get through the week and then wondering why your passions feel far away because your engine needs those feelings to use as fuel. This could be clinging to sunk costs. You know, you saying, I've already come this far, I've already chosen my path, instead of asking, do I even want this? You know, flip the Chariot by simplifying the target. This doesn't have to mean changing everything all in one go. Just point the wheels towards one true thing that feels aligned with you and go with that feeling. They're literally miming lifting the handbrake with 2 fingers and they're winking. That's how I see this soul right now. The Queen of Swords and the Hanged Man. The Queen of Swords is your clean, kind, but no fluff, no bullshit voice. She isn't harsh, she's precise. She's the part of you that labels the boxes honestly. You know, she goes through the stuff, she decides what we keep, what we donate. She looks at what still hurts, what actually bores her, what lights her up. She's also the one who emails back. She says, thank you, but that timeline doesn't work for me. And then she closes the laptop and she eats her dinner like a grown woman. And the Hanged Man is sacred stalling. It's not avoidance, it's an angle. It's you choosing to pause so you can see what you couldn't from the floor. You know, hang for a while. We said that, like, you sit in weird positions, hang, like, go upside down like a bat. You know, let the blood shift, let the picture flip. You know, from this vantage point, you'll spot this one tweak that makes everything possible. A slightly different schedule, a slightly different audience, a different platform, different room, or just the bravery to say, like, no, do you know what? I'm actually done here. Like, this isn't making me happy. I don't love this. And this soul loves that for you, though. They're also trying to get you to use this as your declutter pull. You know, the Hanged Man is literally suspended like clothes on a hanger, like boxes on shelves waiting for decision. So pick just one micro zone, like one drawer, one stack, one folder of notes, and just go through it like that decisive Queen of Swords, and you'll feel the energy move in your body. You'll feel that momentum, and it will bleed into those bigger choices. Just one thing at a time is what they're saying. So in terms of gentle and practical advice, they are saying be honest about the box. They're saying name where you're trying to succeed at something that isn't designed for you. They're saying it's not a failure, it's a misfit. And pivoting would be an integrity move. So lean into that. They're saying keep the magic but ditch the self-doubt goblin. They're saying let your inner chaos goblin hype you up into the first brave step. Do not hand the mic to the self-doubt goblin. You know, this feels like this soul, and a part of why you're struggling to move past obstacles or to move forward, it feels like this was always the soul who, like, hyped your crazy ideas. I'm seeing, I think it's a meme that I saw recently. I can't remember who the creator was. It wasn't really a meme, it was just a quote where somebody had said like, oh, that's not realistic, and then the reply was like, not realistic for you, you unwhimsical bitch. And I'm seeing that, I'm getting that quote, it's not realistic for you, you unwhimsical bitch, it's realistic for me because I have whimsy. This is kind of this person, like they're not afraid to be a little bit crazy because they're insanely like intelligent. People think they're like weird, but they just live outside social norms because because they can, like, because yeah, I don't know, this feels like the kind of person, they probably wouldn't use words like you unwhimsical bitch to describe other people. And if somebody told you you can't do something, they're essentially saying like, what do they know? Like, that's bullshit. But they wouldn't say bullshit. I feel like they're more polite than that. I'm also thinking of like, do you know the Instagram page, I think it is, with the older people, I think they're in a nursing home, and they'll get them to like say, oh, what's your favourite comeback or something, and they hold up bits of paper, and it's always like something that is so funny but also like super wholesome. Like, they can be really cutting without cursing anyone. That kind of reminds me of this person. I'm seeing like they'd say something, they won't say bullshit, but if somebody said, oh, you can't do this, they'd be like, oh, poppycock, don't listen to them. Not exactly that, but they'd say something random that would make you laugh. Like, what do they know? They're unwhimsical. They don't have the whimsy like you do. So this is what they're saying now. They're yelling poppycock or something like that. They're also saying like use any kind of support that they didn't have. So in terms of like accommodations, diagnosis, tools, flexible paths, if some of these things help your brain and help your body, then they're saying use them shamelessly. Like, late support is still life altering. They're also saying like micro moves make kings. So 1 hour on your craft, 1 truthful email, 1 box cleared. Momentum is magic, consistency is your currency. And they're adding, like, if you need a little ritual, they're saying light a candle, say their name, ask for a little nudge, and then do 1 small task, and they'll meet you at that task, and they'll try and help you with it. So in terms of how they still show up, I'm getting shenanigans. Why am I getting the word shenanigans? This person is so cheeky. They are, like, fey-coded, very house fey-coded. So they could steal some of your items. If you notice, like, items get misplaced and then reappear in random places, especially like keys, pens. I'm seeing a single chess piece as well, or like 1 specific rock. I'm seeing like coins in odd places, or seeing 4:56 on the time specifically. Oh my god, that's so weird. It's 4:56 right now as I'm recording this. It's just turned to 4:57, but that is mental. Okay, they really are here. Yeah, so 4:56 on the time, or like on receipts or timestamps. Hearing a random Christmas song that's a bit of an earworm. A campfire or wood smoke sent out of nowhere, or like a memory of a smell that reminds you of something you used to do with them. Or like a moment when you can't find your keys and it's them, like they've stolen your keys because they kind of want you to like sack off that dead-end job and write your book like you've always dreamed or something, and they're like, oh dear, like, you can't find your keys, guess you'll have to write then. Guess you can't go to work. It's stuff like that. And if you catch yourself rolling your eyes and smiling at the same time, that's them. And if you mutter like very fucking funny to an empty room, they heard you. They're saying you didn't perform grief wrong. Your nervous system chose what you could deal with in that moment. It chose safety first, and feeling in these small pockets still counts. They're saying that they will always be patient with your timing, and also lovingly they're saying it's time though. It's time to do something, and only you are going to know what that thing is. And they're saying you know, like, but it's something you're going to be absolutely amazing at, pal 4. They're also saying you're not underpowered. The magic is in your bones. They saw it before you did, and they still do. In terms of like advice of like journal prompts and things like that I could offer to anchor that 4, 5, 6 energy, 4 could be a question about your stable base. So you asking what already supports me right now, whether it's people, whether it's habits, whether it's environments. 5 could be in relation to change, you know, what single change would make everything just 10% lighter this month. And number 6, integration. How will I tend that change so it sticks? So the when, the where, the how long, the routine of it all. And this soul is saying to you, pal 4, they're giving me a cheeky wink again, and they're saying, do not make me come down there and hide your keys. just to get your attention. And this is exactly the kind of like little mischievous prank that they'd pull, you know, moving things around, dropping a coin where you'll find it later, giving you that little sense of deja vu. They're laughing as they say it as well, but the message underneath it is real. They're saying like, when you doubt yourself or you stall too long, they'll happily cause a little bit of harmless chaos to remind you that you're meant for far more. So if your keys go missing or your favourite pen shows up in a weird spot, take it as their little way of saying like, I'm here, but don't forget the magic, let's get moving. So that is your reading, pile 4. I am actually going to finish the reading by looking at some tea leaf confirmations, just as a little bit of extra clarity. So let's have a look at what we pulled for you. Okay, so we have got Harp, Great Happiness. Love that, pile 4. We've got Mountain, Major Challenge to Overcome. We have got Basket, Recognition, Reward for Merit. And we've got Scales, Keep Your Life in Balance. With Harp, they're telling you that you are destined for great happiness. But the message here is also about delicacy. It's about patience with yourself. You are in a huge transitional season of your life, powerful, and they understand that. And they also understand that change doesn't come incredibly easy for you. You know, their passing, it could have already felt like a bit of a safety net was risked. It's not about smashing everything to pieces or setting fire to the past to prove that you're moving forward. They're saying it can be one note at a time, a note that's as soft and as steady as the pluck of a harp string. You know, each little vibration adds up to music. That music in your voice, your steps, however small they are, as long as you keep making sound, keep tuning into yourself, you're doing exactly what you need. Harp also speaks to their own gentle nature. Like, sure, they were a little bit of a trickster, but they were also calm and soothing. They were a soft place for your nervous system to land. Maybe that's why it felt so hard to find balance without their presence. You miss that calm, that reminder that everything doesn't have to be loud and powerful and brash. With Mountain, they're saying, not that you're making mountains out of molehills, but that in your mind, the challenge you face has grown into something monstrous, almost impossible to climb. Whether it's the grief itself or something, a dream you've been putting off or a decision you've been procrastinating, it feels bigger than life itself. You don't even know how to like address it. But they're reminding you you don't have to sprint to the top. You can do it in stages. You know, take water, take breaks, set up camp along the way. This isn't about conquering in one go. It's about making a start. They're saying even one step counts. They're showing me the view from the top and they're chuckling. I want to say chuckling, and they're going off on one of their tangents, like the way they did when you were beside them. Maybe they're telling you a spooky story about campers on a mountain, or they're rambling about the history of a particular place, but then their voice is kind of fading into this like, I'll see you when you're here. That's what I'm hearing, I'll see you when you're here. Almost like they're waiting for you at the summit in their own calm and whimsical way. Basket feels like them holding out a hand to show you, look, it's full. Like, they always had something for you, whether it was physical trinkets or wisdom or advice, encouragement. They always saw value in you where sometimes you didn't. And if you've ever felt like you were showing up with spicy peppers to a marketplace that only wanted tomatoes, like your gifts weren't appreciated, essentially, it's not because peppers are worthless. They're actually more versatile, more rare maybe. You just haven't found the right people or places yet, and they're telling you that you will. You're going to be recognized, rewarded, even celebrated for something you are so naturally brilliant at, and it's something you've only just started to uncover. And finally, with the scales, this is all about balance. Of course, they're repeating what's been coming through all along. You don't need to do everything at once. If you want to keep like the safety net of your job, for instance, and start writing the book, do both, but make sure you actually give the book time too, instead of letting the job drain you until the inner critic goblin wins. They want you to find that sweet spot between practicality and dreaming big, between safety and magic. That's how they lived, and that's how they still show up to guide you. They're saying, you know, it's okay to do things in parts. It's okay to move gently, to keep one foot on the ground while the other steps forward tentatively. What matters is that you're moving. What matters is that you're patient with yourself and you're being fair in how you speak to yourself. Since they passed, maybe you've been harsh with your own inner voice, forgetting how they always reminded you of your worth. And they're here now to bring those scales back into balance, to remind you that you are abundant, you are capable, and you are the magic, and you always will be. So that is what I am getting for you, Pal 4. I just want to thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for sharing your beautiful energy with me and with this collective. I just want to let you know that engagement helps me and this channel so much. So if you enjoyed this reading, if any part of it resonated, please like, please comment, please share, hype, and sub if you feel called to. It really does mean the world to me. I completely understand if you don't want to share personal details. This can be a really intimate subject. But even if you just let me know which pal you picked or you drop an emoji in the comments, that all helps, and it just lets me know that these messages are reaching the right people. It is almost my birthday, happy Scorpio season, and honestly the best birthday present I could ask for is just hearing your kind words of affirmation and just knowing that this reading helped you, even if it was just in one tiny way. So thank you again for spending this time with me. I'm sending you so much love, so much protection, and all the blessings in the world. Until I see you in the next reading. Thank you, Pal 4. Take care. Hi, Pal 5 Collective. If you chose the Considerate Cat Tarot and you chose the Ghost Reading sticker and you chose Pal 5, you are in the correct place. Welcome to your reading, friends. This reading is titled Beyond the Veil, Messages from the Afterlife, What They Want You to Know. If you would like a full breakdown regarding everything this reading will entail, please check out my introduction. I go through absolutely everything there. I will also leave some details in the pinned comment below for your reference. If you are in any way unsure about whether this reading is for you today, please check those out, since I know these topics can be sensitive, but just know these messages are here to support you with encouragement, with love, and with guidance from beyond. So whether you connect with a passed on loved one, an ancestor, a spirit guide, or a higher version of yourself even, these are messages from the liminal, the place beyond time, offering reassurance, clarity, and perspective. We're going to be using tarot and oracle cards today, as always, so I'm actually just going to pop your sticker to one side for now so we can focus on the cards in front of us. We have your angel number oracle here, your archetype oracle here, and the rest are from the Considerate Cats tarot that you chose. So yeah, let's have a look at what we pulled for you, Pal 5. Okay, we have got the Two of Cups. And clarifying the Two of Cups, we have got the Eight of Pentacles reversed. We have got the Nine of Cups. And clarifying the Nine of Cups, we have got the Nine of Wands reversed. We have got the Five of Cups. And clarifying the Five of Cups, we have got the Six of Pentacles. We have got the Nine of Pentacles, a lot of nines today. And we have got the Ace of Cups. Your angel number is 210. You are presented with the opportunity for a fresh start and new beginnings. Release regrets and embrace the present moment with openness and optimism. So that could tell you a little something about your reading themes today, Pal 5. And your archetype card, we have Judge, light attributes, balancing justice and compassion, managing the fair distribution of power, and shadow attributes, offering only destructive criticism, misusing business, legal, or criminal authority. So I always like to start these readings by mentioning a few confirmations that I'm getting right off the bat. These don't have to apply for this to be your pile. These are just messages for specific individuals as extra clarity. So of course the angel number 210 may be relevant, you know, new beginnings guided by spirit, a balanced path opening. This is very specific, but somebody's birthday could be on the 2nd of October. Somebody's birthday could be on the 10th of February. I'm also seeing birthdays landing on the 21st, the 1st or the 2nd of a month. Themes surrounding the 1st and 2nd house might be relevant, so themes of identity, values, material things. Libra, Virgo, Taurus and Aquarius is coming through strongly. I'm seeing something about pastel colours or neutral aesthetics, something about tasteful decor. I'm seeing like an abstract painting. I'm seeing watercolour art as well. I'm seeing cat-like eyes or cat eyeliner and a big cat person, which isn't surprising with you picking the Considerate Cat Tarot. Specifically Persian cat, something about really fluffy cats is coming through. I'm seeing red hair, maybe somebody is a redhead. Could be Scottish ancestry coming through as well. I'm hearing a Scottish accent or something about Scottish names or folklore. Judge could literally point to some kind of legal work, or metaphorically it could just be about like fairness and standards and judgment. Like the theme of judgment is coming through. I'm also seeing champagne flutes, something about Prosecco or champagne, something about wine. There's something about interior decorating or decorating games. I'm seeing something about house flipper. There's something about somebody moving. I'm seeing like boxes. There's something about organizing. I'm getting somebody who sees like tiny little changes. I'm getting somebody who is very house proud, or everything has to have its right place, something like that. Something about manners, having excellent manners is being prioritized here, is being highlighted. There's something coming through about soap operas, something about reality TV, romance and family dramas as like guilty pleasures. I'm seeing somebody has a love of beautifying spaces, somebody has an elegant and composed presentation, somebody has very symmetrical features, maybe somebody is a Libra rising. If any of those land, you are in the right place, but they don't have to for this to be your pile. We're going to talk about who this is and the dynamic that you have with this soul who's coming through today. So the first thing I'm getting is that you have kind of complicated feelings towards this person. This is a very layered and complex relationship. I want to say beautiful and complicated at once. I mean, aren't they all? Like, that is human relationships, right? You know, for many of you, this reads to me like a parent or a guardian figure of some kind, or a motherly type of energy, particularly feminine energy, although it doesn't have to be. It could be another close family member or somebody who was kind of in a position of authority who filled that sort of a role. There's a lot of like closeness though, there's a lot of intensity with it. I'm getting this vibe of like, this person could be my worst sparring partner, but also my fierce defender in the same lifetime. It's almost this sense of like, this person knew my weak spots, so they knew me better than anyone, and sometimes they like poked and prodded me, but if anyone else poked and prodded me, they would be like my biggest protector. It's giving somebody where there's a lot of love there, but there's also a lot of differences, and maybe there was some clashing when this person was here on earth when it came to those differences. I'm getting for this person, there's a lot of emphasis on maybe rigidity, tradition. I'm getting like house rules, specific structures, or very particular standards, the proper way of doing things. But there's also like depth, there's loyalty, there's love, there's provision. You were very different in some of your values. Like for some of you, as one example, like where you prioritized depth and meaning and connection and authenticity, even if it looked messy or uncomposed. I don't know if that's even a word, probably not. You prioritized rawness, and this person, it feels like they often prioritized polish and punctuality and preparedness and presentation. They could be kind of exacting or nitpicky about details. You know, the kind of person who's like, are you wearing that? A little lip gloss wouldn't hurt. Or we said 2 p.m, which means arrive at 1:30. Many of their rules feel to me like fear responses. You know, you could have felt like this person criticized you a lot. You could have felt sometimes stifled or judged. And on their side, they might have felt scared that without certain standards, you wouldn't be treated fairly in the world. You know, many of their rules were fear responses born from their era or their culture, or just class realities, you know, how they survived, especially if they belong to any kind of marginalised group or they grew up with less. That won't apply to everyone, but especially in those circumstances, they thought these standards would keep you safe and would open doors. And still, you know, underneath the critiques, there's so much heart here. This person, maybe they could spoil you materially, especially if they wanted you to have the things that they didn't have. They would defend you in a heartbeat if anyone else said anything bad about you. They would trade silly gossip with you about shows or books or celebrities, or they'd share sharp, sometimes catty humour in a way that felt like only we get each other. You clashed in love languages. You gave soul, they gave structure. You wanted softness, they offered strategy. Both caring, just different, and you didn't always see eye to eye. And I think what they want you to know is you are allowed to hold both truths. Sometimes they were too strict or critical, and sometimes you rebelled and you did the opposite just because. Just because you wanted to be that rebellious teenager or whatever. And you can still love them deeply and still name the parts that hurt. That's not betrayal, that's honesty, and they know that. So the message they want to give you with the Two of Cups and the Eight of Pentacles reversed. The Two of Cups is the bond that made you choose each other over and over and over. It's this private lane between your hearts. They are saying, we were always we. I'm hearing that repeatedly. We were always we. But the Eight of Pentacles reversed shows where, I guess, the stitch slipped. The how of love became confusing. You know, they often equated love with improvement, tidying, polishing, fixing. It looked like, if I correct it, you'll be safer. But to you, it sometimes felt like I'm a project or I'm never good enough. And they're actually giving me specific moments here. Like, some examples could be, you will know what this is for you. They're saying that you will know what this is, but they're recognizing a time when they know they didn't give you quite what you needed, and they now see how they could have been, I guess, better. But one example could be like you bringing them a poem or a draft of your artwork and you're really proud, and you know, instead of them saying like, oh, this is beautiful, they say like, oh, watch your margins, you missed a comma here, or something like that. Or you know, maybe you arrive at a family event emotionally wrung out because you're dealing with a lot, and instead of getting a hug from them, they say to you like, oh, next time text me if you're going to be late. They thought that they were showing up by helping you, I guess, refine some of the edges, but you needed a hand held first and edits later, and they didn't always understand that. They see it now. They're apologising for the times their let me help landed like you're not enough. They want you to know they did admire your mind, your taste, your courage, way more than they ever said out loud. And they're asking you to release the reflex that makes you over-edit your life before it's shareable. They're saying show the messy draft, let people love you before they polish, because you were always lovable. And they're saying, I'm sorry if I didn't make that clear. With the Nine of Cups and the Nine of Wands reversed, they loved comfort and beauty, the good glassware, a table laid just right, the satisfaction of knowing we did it properly. That's Nine of Cups, but it came with bracing. You know, the Nine of Wands reversed, that invisible armor, that what will people think, that hypervigilance, you know, scanning for mistakes before joy could land. Maybe you learnt to rehearse your explanations in advance, to soften your choices so that no one could find fault with them. And from where they are now, they're laying those defenses down. They're saying you don't have to earn the right to be pleased. They're saying light the candle on a Monday, wear the outfit because it feels like you, not because you're saving it for a special occasion, or not because it ticks a silent dress code. You know, if their voice sometimes still lives in your head as like a raised eyebrow or someone judging you, they're replacing it with like a thumbs up and a smile. They're saying go for it. They want your home, inner and outer, to be pleasure forward, not performance forward. With the Five of Cups and the Six of Pentacles, this is that ache that still surfaces. It's the card that you reread and cry over, the birthday you wish you'd spent differently, the sentence you needed from them that never came. The Five of Cups honours that grief. They're not asking you to pretend that it wasn't complicated, they know that it was. But with the Six of Pentacles, they're actively trying to balance the scales here. You know, if you learnt to give more than you take, to apologise before anyone is even upset, to step on eggshells to fix everyone's plate and forget your own, they're here to redress it. You know, they're saying expect practical kindness to appear out of nowhere. A waived fee, a neighbour offering help, a friend who insists that you sit down while they wash up. That's them. And they're nudging you to practice receiving. And they're saying, say it out loud. They might be encouraging mirror work. They're saying give yourself praise. Learn to accept help and give yourself time off from being the capable one, the one who holds it all together. Your heart needs feeding here, not just your to-do list. With the Nine of Pentacles and the Ace of Cups, you've built competence. You can host, you can present, you can deliver, you can pull a room together like a magazine spread. And maybe they taught you that, but they're giving you the full credit for it. They see the independence and elegance of the Nine of Pentacles and they are so proud of you, but they don't want you to live in a showroom. You know, the Ace of Cups is the unguarded heart. It's the bath run at 3 p.m. because your body asked. It's the career pivot that doesn't photograph as impressive, but floods you with peace. It's the hobby that you do not because you're amazing at it, but you do it for joy. They're showing me a tiny weekly ritual here, whether it's pouring a drink into the nice glass and making a silent toast to yourself, whatever it is, that's Ace of Cups living. It's self-blessing and self-celebration without a reason, and they want more of that. They're saying they were never trying to stifle you. And yeah, they keep going back to this theme of judgment. There's something really big here that they want you to know. They're saying the judge archetype isn't hovering over you anymore. If this person was exacting in life, that was their human fear trying to keep you safe. But they're saying from here, there is no moral tribunal, there's no scorecard, there's no, are you living the way I'd approve of? There is only love, pride, and this beam of clarity from their soul to yours. You know, if you catch yourself just living your life and you're asking like, oh, would they approve of this haircut, this partner, this career pivot, this tattoo, the way I parent, the way I send cards, the way I forget to send cards? Their answer is, live your life on your terms. What they couldn't be then, they are trying to be now. They're the one who is saying, I'm not scared anymore, I trust you, I see your goodness, you don't need my permission. They also kind of see all the patterns you might have absorbed, you know, maybe people pleasing, perfectionism, burnout, procrastination, tied to fear of criticism. These are all things that this person went through, and they never wanted that for you, but it's almost like their rigidness had the opposite effect of what they wanted. So they know that maybe partially some of this is on them, and they're saying it's okay for you to be honest about it. Sometimes you feel guilty about like admitting that they weren't perfect, because in many ways they were like so generous with you, and you feel that as part of their love. But it's okay to admit that it wasn't perfect, because they're seeing things clearly, and they know that it wasn't. You know, they're actively helping you now unhook from some of those beliefs where their voice once became your inner critic. They're working to become your inner cheerleader. And what's most important, they really want you to feel how boundless their love is now. It isn't filtered through fear or pride or generational rules or human limitation. It's bigger than all of that. You know, it's not, I love you if XYZ, or I love you when XYZ. It's, I love you, period. I love you, full stop. I love you, that's it. Unconditionally, in every version of yourself. Their love has expanded into something eternal. It's a current that will never ebb. And they want you to feel it carrying you whenever you start to doubt yourself. So in terms of where you are now and what they very gently ask of you, they're saying that you're right on the cusp of a new chapter, 210. A balanced path is opening that honours your values. It's about your identity, your resources, and your self-worth that is reshaping. They're asking you to do things on your terms now. They're asking you to tell the truth to yourself. They're saying where are you fine on autopilot, and where is fine a self-deception? You know, which roles or routines are soothing and which are performances for an old audience. They're saying choose the right effort. You don't have to torture your life to change it, but you also don't have to keep over-functioning in the wrong room. Small, honest steps above perfect performative leaps. They're saying that you can redefine excellence. Not the Nine of Pentacles for show kind, the my body unclenches here kind. Excellence that includes rest and softness and saying no when you need to. They're saying let joy count, not just finished products, not just the material success, but the joy of the process. That's true satisfaction. They're saying celebrate yourself without the performance. They want you to honour every effort you make, no matter how small it looks on paper. You don't need to hit some invisible bar of perfection for them to clap for you. They're already clapping. Whether you're finally resting without guilt, getting through a hard day, or you are choosing to show up authentically in a way that might have scared them, terrified the crap out of them in life, they are raising a glass. They're like, yeah, do it. Like, they're asking you to notice the everyday victories, not just the polished milestones. They're asking you to choose authenticity over approval. You know, in life, you might have felt constantly measured against standards that weren't truly yours. Rules about how to look, how to behave, what success should mean. And that pressure may have shaped you into someone who pushes too hard, hides parts of yourself, or questions whether you'll ever be enough. And from their vantage point now, they're saying, you always were. So your next step isn't to live up to anyone else's script, not theirs, not society's. It's to honor your own. Wear what feels right, speak in your own voice, make choices that align with who you are now, not who you feel pressured to be. They want you to feel the relief of finally setting down the weight of needing approval and the joy of choosing yourself instead. There's a few specific messages coming through from them. They're saying, I was proud. I didn't always say it. I thought you knew, but I was always proud. They're saying, I pushed because I believed in you, but sometimes I pushed the wrong way. I know that now. I confused polish with safety. I see the difference now. They're saying nothing you could ever do could make me love you less. There is only devotion. They're saying talk to me like you are, messy, honest. They're even giving you permission to swear if you need to. Maybe they used to tell you off for swearing, or they were like, oh, it's not very ladylike to swear, or something like that. They're saying you can swear if you want to, like, be messy. They're not scared of that anymore. And how they still show up for you. You might notice like the perfect gift idea landing right when you need it. You might notice money or discounts or appointments aligning. You might get a nudge to rest instead of just powering through. Or you might suddenly get this sudden wave of like, I'm allowed to do it my way. Or, you know, a softening in your self-talk. That's them retilting the scales towards grace and reciprocity with that Six of Pentacles, trying to be generous as a soul in ways that maybe they weren't fully able to be generous in life. They're trying to fill up your cup again. Also, cats as messengers, cat-themed serendipities, or simply the comfort of a purring weight on your chest when you're spiraling. They're all about that. You can love them through cats, especially if they were a cat lover. Maybe adopting a cat could be relevant. Did this person used to call you baby for some of you? Because I'm hearing like, baby, I'm never not proud of you. They're saying I loved you for who you are, not who I tried to shape you into. And they're saying I see you clearly now, so live boldly, live kindly, live truthfully, your way. They're saying I'll be here, beaming over every soft, ordinary miracle, the book that you finish writing, the boundary you keep, the outfit that feels so you, the outfit that I would have never approved of when I was here. You know, the room that finally looks like home because it holds your life. They're saying raise a glass tonight, whether it's water, tea, Prosecco. They're saying I don't care, I'm clinking mine with you. They're toasting to your new Ace of Cups beginning. They're so excited for you, Pal 5. So that is what I'm getting for your reading. We are going to finish your reading by getting some extra tea leaf confirmations. So let's have a look at what we pulled for you. Okay, so we have got Elephant. A long journey, either physical or mental, will leave you wiser at the end. We have got Boat. Money or property through an inheritance, winning or windfall. We have got Fire. Strong emotion, passionate love or hate. And we have got Door. Opportunities are waiting for you. So elephant symbolism might be a direct sign. Maybe this person loved elephants, maybe you do, or perhaps you've got ornaments or art or decor that features elephants. But more deeply than that, I guess, this feels like them pointing to a long emotional and spiritual journey you and they have shared. And I can't shake the Dumbo reference, I'm sorry, because this scene breaks my heart. But the scene where the mother and baby are separated and their trunks are intertwined through the bars, oh, that hurts my heart. It's that sense of like, no matter what, you are forever wrapped in their love. That's what they're trying to say with that scene. And they're showing me their own journey too, actually, like how much they've grown and learned since passing, like how much wisdom they've gained. They understand that your memories of them are mixed, like there's some good and bad, there's some funny and frustrating, and they really don't want you to have to erase or gloss over the harder parts. They just don't want you to carry them as shame or self-blame. Like, instead, they want everything you shared to leave you wiser, stronger, and softer. Like, even if they couldn't always express it in the right way in life, they would have done anything to protect you, Pal 5, and that hasn't changed. So when you're struggling, when someone is rude, or when you need to find your courage, imagine their trunk of love wrapping around you, like holding you steady, lending you the wisdom to stand tall. Because even if your relationship wasn't always simple, and none of them ever are, they are still fiercely in your corner. And just as elephants bond through touch, trunk greetings, and even like little mourning rituals, grief rituals, they're showing you that kind of devotion, like a mother-calf bond, family bonds, deep soul bonds. Those don't end. They are still here, wrapped around you all the time. The hug that they were never able to give you fully in the way you needed when you were here, they're trying to give it to you now. With boat, for some of you, this could literally be confirmation. You may have received an inheritance, some financial help, or a small windfall tied to this person. If not yet, it could be something that comes through. Either way, this feels like their soul kind of wanting to make sure that you're on steady ground. You know, they acknowledge how rocky things have felt at times. Sometimes they rocked the boat, sometimes you did, and they don't want you left adrift. This was probably the type of person who planned everything, even down to the details of their own dang funeral, because they wanted things to be just right. But also so you wouldn't be burdened with the practicalities when you were grieving. That's love in its own way, making sure that you're covered while they're gone. And this card is their reassurance. They're saying, I wanted you to have a safety net and I still want you to. Yeah, with the fire card, this one is undeniable. There was fire in your relationship, sometimes bickering, sometimes clash after clash, sometimes a wildfire spreading, things got heated and it was difficult to calm down. Sometimes moments where things tip too far, but I don't see hate here. Not truly. You know, there could have been moments where when you argued, you told each other you hated each other, but you never really did. You never did. There was never any hate here. You know, it's more that the love was so fierce, the protective instinct was so strong that it sometimes got tangled up in human fear and pride and defensiveness that came across as very sharp or critical. And oh, you two could hit each other right where it hurts as well. Like, you knew each other's insecurities, and sometimes when you were arguing, you could use those things against each other. They're laughing a little bit now, though. They're shaking their head as well. They're saying, like, oh, thin line between love and hate, right? Because the truth is, all of it was love. Even when it was heated, even when they scared you with the intensity of their opinions, or when you scared them with your independence and your passion and your fire. And now they're saying they adore that wildness in you. They love that you're a free spirit, that you refuse to be tamed, that you stand up for yourself and for what you believe in. They used to worry about that a lot, but now they're just proud beyond measure. If anything in your life has started to dim that fire, you know, obligations, fear, guilt, even grief, they want you to know you are meant to burn bright. Passion and not obligation, love, not fear. With that door card, they're kind of being clever here. You know, the picture on the card shows a closed door, but they're saying the door between you has never really closed. Yes, there were times in life when you two slammed the door on each other, when ego and pride and hurt made it impossible to connect, even though deep down you both yearned for that. But now they're just on the other side. They're leaning against the wood, their ear is pressed to the door, and they're waiting for you to call them in. They will never force their way in because they won't overstep like they sometimes did in life. But if you invite them in, they will walk through. And beyond all that, they're promising new doors for you in this life. They're promising doors to love, to fulfillment, to new opportunities that once seemed closed. They want to help you open them. They want to walk with you through them. You don't have to know exactly what's on the other side. Just know that they are standing ready to push a few of those doors ajar for you whenever you're ready. Altogether, these cards feel like their closing embrace. Wisdom, stability, passion, opportunity. They want you to remember you're not stuck, you're not unloved, and you're never ever alone. So that is what I'm getting for your reading today, Pal 5. I just want to thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for sharing your beautiful energy with me and this collective. On a side note, engagement helps me and this channel so much. So if any tiny part of the reading resonated, if you enjoyed it, please, if you get a chance, like, comment, share, hype, and sub if you feel called to do so. It really does mean the world to me. I completely understand if you don't want to share personal details. This can be such an intimate personal topic, but even if you just let me know which pal you picked or you drop an emoji in the comments, that all really helps, and it just lets me know that these messages are finding the right people. It is almost my birthday. Happy Scorpio season. And honestly, the best birthday present I could ask for is just hearing some kind words and words of affirmation from you guys, and just knowing that this reading helped you and supported you in some way, even if it's a really tiny way. So thank you so much again for spending this time with me. I'm sending you love, protection, and blessings, and I will see you in the next reading. Take care, Pal 5.